All right, everyone, we're going to call this meeting to order. If you could please rise, we're going to lead with the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Mike Stewart's going to lead us in the invocation.
Please join me. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this opportunity to come and serve in this capacity as commissioners for our county. Lord, I just ask that you bless us here tonight, give us wisdom, guide us. Lord, we thank you for your mercies. Lord, I just want to say, God, that we thank you for our country and our military, Lord, who serve overseas, that you be with them and bless them. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
Pull consent items. Consent.
You can pull it now, and then we'll...
I'm going to pull item 15 on the consent.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to add two brief announcements.
Okay, and we also have an additional announcement from Sherry Kraft from 4-H. I don't know if that was one of yours. Any additional...
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to move the Restore Act announcement by Billy Williams, move that to general business, just ahead of item number 21.
So you want to have that announcement follow the public hearings?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the planning and zoning items, but
Right.
come before general business, okay?
Right.
Any other changes? Entertain a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're going to start this evening with a public hearing. Request board approval to conduct a public hearing and considering adopting an ordinance revising sections of the Wakulla Code relating to development permits and approvals. Mr. Cerna?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This item is in response to Florida House Bill 503, which revised sections 125.022 Florida statutes. This law prohibits counties from conditioning receipt of development permits on first having federal or state permits. What we've done is we've identified 5 sections in the code that this law is in conflict with, and we've stricken those from the code. This item went to the Planning Commission on September 10th, and they voted unanimously in support of this ordinance, and we're recommending that you adopt it this evening.
Motion to approve to conduct the final public hearing and vote to adopt the proposed ordinance revising section of the Wakulla County Code related to development permits and approvals.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or citizens? Are those on this item? No citizens, any discussion from the board?
I just wanted to ask Marie if you would provide a little information how this differs in Leon County versus our county in the implementation, because it says that here that those permits will be required not for county permits, but before any development activity occurs, but there are still things that can happen, correct?
That's right. One of staff's concern when this law was initially passed is we do not have a process where we require permits for clearing of land. You have to get a site plan or subdivision approval and building permits, but we don't have a land clearing permit or an environmental permit like Leon County does. So we have to be careful to make sure that that before clearing takes place, that the developer does have all state and federal permits that are required for wetlands, for example. And that's something that we are looking at as far as changing our processes to make sure that that doesn't occur.
So we don't seem to have much of a choice, but there are some potential problems that could arise from this. So I encourage you to proceed as you described.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Thank you. Up next on this evening's agenda is awards and presentations. Our first awards and presentation is going to be an announcement regarding Domestic Violence Awareness Month by Ms. Kathy Aswell. And I'll read a resolution when she tells me to.
Thank you very much. Again, I come before you to ask you to declare Wakulla County a no violence for the month of October, of course, for always, but especially for this month, since October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Also, I'd like to bring your attention to
the event that we're going to be scheduling October 10th. It's going to be at First Baptist Church. It's going to be an awareness event to bring awareness about domestic violence to the community. And Judge Jackie Fulford is going to be speaking. We're going to have a remembrance candle for the 2 women that have been killed in this county, one in 2001 and one in 2009. The mother of Leslie Drew will be lighting that candle. We'll also have some music and lunch will be served. I invite all of you to attend. And Alan, if that's in your calendar, maybe you could come and read the proclamation also at the event. And we invite all the public to attend. Please just show up. We would like for everyone in the community to feel welcome. But Alan, if you would please read the proclamation.
Thank you. This is on the consent agenda, so I anticipate it passing. Wakulla County Proclamation declaring October 2012 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas domestic violence is an epidemic in our nation, state, and county, resulting in thousands of battered victims, traumatized children, and broken families each year, crossing all economic, racial, and social barriers. And whereas the children in violent homes are also in danger of victimization and are more likely to succumb to drug use, truancy, and emotional disturbances, and are likely to exhibit violent and unlawful behavior in later life than children raised in abuse-free homes. And whereas domestic violence is both a violation of an individual's privacy, security, and humanity, and is a crime which impacts society as a whole, then we conclude that perpetrators of domestic violence must be held accountable for their actions. And whereas we ask that all citizens join together to declare Wakulla County a zero-tolerance zone for domestic violence. Further, we ask our citizens to work with established agencies and individuals to provide women and children the safety which is theirs by right. Now therefore be it resolved, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Wakulla County, Crawfordville, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2012 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Wakulla County to increase public awareness. And as soon as it's passed in the consent agenda, I'll sign it, and I don't anticipate that being a problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
Our next announcement this evening is going to be provided by a presentation by Knight Energy.
Yes, and it's Drew Smith that's going to be presenting.
Mr. Smith? Please feel free.
Step down here.
My name's Drew Smith. I'm with Smith & Smith Consulting out of Tallahassee, and I represent Knight Energy Management. Real quick, in your packets, Knight Energy Management packed these up and sent them to me, and they had a bunch of stuff, contracts, a punch list, all that kind of stuff. I put all that stuff on the left behind your brochure. Anything that we're going to talk about today is either in the brochure or anything on the right. Knight Energy Management, they install LED bulbs into large facilities at no initial cost or any realized cost to the facility. What they do is they install the bulbs, and then they set up a shared savings plan or a payment plan where you pay for the bulbs every month, but your payment is less than your energy savings. The goal here is for a county or municipality that could normally pay for LED bulbs to purchase the bulbs and then also have money in their pocket at the end of the month. So you should see a net profit on month one after installing the bulbs. Now the way that they do this, Knight Energy is an arm of Knight Enterprises. Knight Enterprises is a huge service company. They do all the installations for Time Warner Bright House. They have 1,500 trucks on the road, 5,000 tickets a day. They contracted with a performance-based company that went in and they were doing energy management. It was installing coolers. They put new windows in, installation and light bulbs, the whole gamut. And Jeff Knight, which is the owner of Knight Enterprises, soon realized really two things. One is that the major energy savings came from the light bulbs. The second thing is that under the performance-based contracts, there were a lot of discrepancies between the owner of the facility and the performance-based company of how much the company should receive from payment and how much the owner should pay, that sort of thing. So he did two things. One, he went to a guy named Kevin Bechtel that owns Bechtel Financing, and they set up this shared savings plan. Then they went to a bank and they said, hey, this is our plan. Can we get some money to start up this business? The bank automatically said, here you go. We're going to give you $100 million to start up this company. And that was the first bank that they went to. In your brochure on the right side, there's a page that looks like this. And this is the nuts and bolts of the whole project and how the county sees their energy savings. Now, we install any kind of light. We install street lights, all the way down to garage lights, the little screw-in bulbs. But this is the most common light. This will replace these lights right here. And I don't know if these are T12s or T8s. The example I gave you is for a T12 light. And what this shows is under a current lighting system using T12s, and they use 5,000 lights. If you start on the left, you have 365 days a year. You multiply by the hours the bulbs are burned. You get your total hours. You multiply by your watts. You get your total watts that you burn per year. Divide it by 1,000, you get your kilowatts. You multiply that by the cost per kilowatt. You get your total cost per bulb, multiplied by the 5,000, you get $96,000 a year. That's what you would pay for energy for a T12 and burn them 12 hours a day and having 5,000 bulbs. On the right side, you have that same lighting system, but you use a 15-watt LED bulb. And you go down, and the total cost is $36,000. So at the bottom, you can see your savings, once your LED bulb is installed, is $60,000. Now what Night Energy does, they install the bulbs, then they come in and they sit down with you and say, you have $60,000 savings from your energy cost. You give us $40,000, you put $20 in your pocket, and we install the bulbs. And you pay that $40,000 a year until the bulbs are paid off. Most of the time, the contracts are for 5 years. Night Energy Management, or Night Enterprises, is a service company that we use. They come in and they install the bulbs, and they also warranty the bulbs and anything that might happen. So if your bulb burns out, you call us, we come out and we change your bulbs. We're not expecting to change that many bulbs. These bulbs last 15 to 20 years. The manufacturers are telling us that that's what they last. So we don't even use a manufacturer that doesn't warranty the bulbs themselves for 7 years. We do it for the length of the contract. They extend it to another 7. So if we have a contract with y'all, and y'all are paying us for the bulbs for 5 years, if it burns out in the first 5 years, we come out and change it. If it happens on year 6, then the bulb is still warranted. We purchase the bulb, we send it to you, and y'all change the bulbs. We also leave bulbs on site, so if y'all are in dire need of a bulb, they're real simple to change. A lot of people haven't seen one.
You get the same color?
You can change these bulbs to any color that you would like.
Make sure you speak into the microphone.
I mean, on the color of the light.
The color of the light is done by hertz, and we can take that same bulb and we can turn it to a light yellow, and then we can turn it all the way up to a bright white, which most of the time we can turn it up to a white light that you do not want to install.
Do you have something that's somewhat comparable to sunlight?
We can do everything up to a surgical light, which is just that bright white. All we have to do is just change the hertz of the light, and we can change it to any color that you want. Now it's not, you can't install the light and then dim it and change it that way, but we can do it at the manufacturer.
You have LED ball field lights?
We do, but the problem with our program with the ball field lights is that y'all don't burn them enough. You know, if you burn them 12 hours a day, then they fit into this program. And we can sell them to you. But we can't do the shared savings plan because we get paid back from the energy savings, and it would just take too long for y'all to pay us back off the energy that you would save off of the bulb lights.
They also have some height restrictions. They only install to like 40 feet, I think, and we only have 4 fields that are 40 feet. The others are all higher.
We can get them higher than that. We just don't recommend it. We wouldn't recommend it for
You
y'all.
come in and do an audit and tell us that we're burning 30, and when we use you, we're going to burn 10.
And that's my proposal later, is they will come in and do a free audit and work out, and put together a proposal that we can then consider or pursue or not.
How much does that bulb cost? I want to break it.
Most of the time, that bulb sells for about $46.
I assume you only put these in secure locations too, like inside a building. You wouldn't want to put them in a pavilion where some vandals may go up there and bust them all out.
We don't want to put them in areas like that. We do put them in areas like that, but our warranty is not for vandalism. So the vandalism part would be up to the county to prevent that. Changing these bulbs is very simple. Once the warranty does go out, that they install just like any other bulb. As you can see, you stick it up and turn it. Our screw-in bulbs, we just screw in. We go in once we do the installation. They don't require a ballast or a starter, so we go in and we cut the ballast and starter off, which also saves you a little bit of on your electrical savings. Then after that, you screw it in. You don't have to change any jokes. It still only takes one person to screw in a light bulb after the LED bulbs go in. Now, we are a service company, a warranty company, and a financing company. We are not a bulb manufacturer. We get these bulbs from several different manufacturers. We started off using Evergreen out of South Florida. It was a Florida-based company. Every single LED company, really all over the world, has called us. The ones that we use the most of are Zonaro, which is the largest one in Europe, and Cree, which is the largest one in the United States and the world.
So that is a Cree chip in there. Is that a Cree?
You know,
T6 Cree chip.
I'm not sure what light that is. I had a presentation the other day, and I usually bang it on the table and say, these lights don't break. Well, come to find out, the little metal things on the end do. And I broke my light, so I picked this one up. This might be an Evergreen, which we first used. It's just one that I picked up.
Yeah, that's a Cree chip.
If y'all have, we recommend the Cree chip. It's the best chip there is. Cree has contracted with us, and most often we're going to use Cree products. This light right here, Zonaro makes a great light for. So if y'all want Zonaro, we'll put in Zonaro. All the LED companies have contacted us, and if y'all have a specific one that y'all want, we'll work with the lighting company, and we'll get down the prices. The LED companies have called us, and they literally have underbid themselves and continually underbid themselves to get us to use their product. So we can work with almost anybody. It would be safe to say.
I assume that the advantage you're bringing to the table, of course, is costs money. I mean, it's not something you're doing free.
Right.
Is that you can get a discount on the bulbs because you buy it in bulk, and that you finance it up front. That is really the two things you're bringing to the table.
That's what we're bringing to the table.
If he saves us money, it doesn't matter what he does.
See, but it also saves you in maintenance cost. You don't have to pay. You won't touch a bulb for 5 years. Most likely, you won't touch a bulb for 15 years. And the only reason these LED companies don't, when they say 15 years, that's on normal wear. 12 hours a day, 10, 12 hours a day, they're going to last 15, 20 years. They don't warranty them for that long because they don't want somebody to come in, put a bulb up, and leave it on for 24 hours a day. If you take what they're calling a 20-year bulb and burn it 24 hours a day, it's actually a 10-year bulb. So Cree does warranty all their bulbs for 10 years. They also don't produce heat, so you save on your HVAC. You're not going to have to purchase any more bulbs, so you save on the actual purchasing of the bulbs. And there are a lot of energy companies that also offer incentives for going green. So there are other savings besides just your energy costs, which all go directly to you.
So why don't you outline what the steps are if we want to move forward?
Are we going to go over this on your agenda item also?
Well, if he's going to do it now.
It's a real simple process. This company, they've tried to make everything as simple as possible, and you can even read through those contracts that I put on the left side of your packet, and you'll see everything is easy to read and as simple as possible. There's on your right side of your packet, there's a form. It looks like this. It's a pre-audit form. If y'all want us to come audit a facility, y'all fill this form out. It has 8 questions on it. Very simple questions. What kind of bulbs, how long they burn, that sort of thing. We'll send somebody up to audit the facility. We'll take that information, we will, and it's engineers, electrical engineers that come up and do the audits. We will plug it into our system. If we think there's enough savings for a shared savings plan, we'll offer y'all a proposal.
And the audit's free?
The audits are free.
But this is only applies to bulbs, right? Our biggest energy consumers are wastewater plant, but you guys won't go audit that, I assume.
No. No.
This is just bulbs.
We are in the process of selling bulbs. That's what we do. If y'all want to purchase the bulbs outright, we make more money because we have all our money up front. We offer this shared savings plan because the economy went down and people can't afford bulbs.
Just out of curiosity, why is it taking an electrical engineer to count light bulbs, which is basically what we're doing?
Because commissioners want an electrical engineer doing it. That's one of the questions
Good
that we
answer.
ask. I mean, that's all it is. Because what they do, they've sent me into facilities and I've counted bulbs, and then they send an electrical engineer to do the same thing.
Counts the same bulb.
That's right. But that's really what it is, counting your bulbs. We do like to look at your energy, what you spent on the bulbs over the last 3 months or so, just so we know that there's not something, skewed. But that's it. It's a very simple process. The main thing here is you have to have the energy savings. We run into a lot of facilities. That's why we do the pre-audit form, because everybody wants us to come in and do an audit. But most of the time, it's not a company or an entity telling us that they don't want to use us. It's us telling them that we can't use them, because we want to have a facility that pays us back in a reasonable time. With a county, we can extend it up to 7 years. Most of the time, anytime you use a T12 or T8 replacement, you're going to pay it back in 5 years. So,
Okay, thank you
there any
very
questions?
much. We'll be talking about this at the end of our meeting if you want to stick around.
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Up next for our awards and presentations this evening is information and suggestions from Talquin and Progress Energy.
I think Dan Ard is here. I'm not sure we have a Progress Energy representative. Dan Ard is with Talquin, and he's been a wonderful resource to the Energy Committee. On the table there's lots of information from Progress Energy, both about how to reduce electricity costs, but a lot of the rebates that they offer, and so please stop by and pick those up. Dan?
Okay. My name is Dan Arl. I'm the Energy Services Manager for Talquin Electric Cooperative. I believe it's been probably about a year ago, we were tasked, I was asked to sit in an advisory capacity for Energy Efficiency Working Group for Wakulla County, and I think the intent from that, from what my understanding was, is for us to come together with some consensus of ideas that would help the county save money on their normal budgetary items for expenditures on energy consumption. Through the process, we've identified a lot of areas. Talquin, we do these audits for free on any facility that we serve. I know the wastewater plant, I believe, was looked at by Progress. I'm not sure where they were with that, obviously different entity. We have identified a tremendous amount, and basically, I mean, without sugarcoating it, the county is hemorrhaging money when it comes to their facilities. The problem that we've kind of run into, just to kind of bring you up to speed, which I guess is what my focus here is tonight, is to say, you've had a group of people working on this, and it's all kind of come back to the same thing. There hasn't been budget items to take care of a lot of the problems that you have. There's a lot of deficiencies in a lot of areas that have to do with staffing and policies and procedures, and a lot of the things that we would expect to find when we normally do this, because being with Talquin, I do work with Leon and Gaston and Liberty counties as well. Liberty not so much because their infrastructure is a little bit smaller, but we have identified these programs, and what we find typically is we can carve out a 30% savings without any difficulty. One of the things I'd like to piggyback on something he said about the lights is that the T12 technology that you're currently using is gone. I mean, it's not going to be available, so you're not going to have any choice but retrofit all your lighting at some point, whether it's with this company or something else. I guess what I'm kind of asking from Talquin's standpoint, we certainly want to work with the county in any way we can. We like to think we have a good working relationship and partnership. We're offering to do any county county facility that we serve at no cost. I invest a lot of time and effort in that. We also do, for your residents, we do free energy use analysis on the residential side. It's a very extensive service. In the public sector, you'd pay about $450 on average for a home. We do that provided to them as well. Our goal here seems kind of odd for us to teach people how to use less of the product we sell, but we're looking at the bigger picture. We're looking at power plant builds and all that sort of thing. So there is a method to our madness here, so to speak. But I guess what I'm asking, and we've kind of discussed this within that committee, is what direction you want us to take. We'll continue to work with you hand in hand in any way you want to serve us, as far as which direction you'd like to go. But I think what I'm asking is what kind of direction from the commission. Are you looking at appropriating funds to start making repairs? If so, then we can kind of maybe help you and guide you a little bit on those types of things. I haven't gotten all the information for the new community center, but I've offered my services there as well so that we could try to get ahead of the game before we ended up with high bills. But so I guess that's where I want to leave it, is let you tell me what you want from Talquin to provide for you.
I think David we got a maintenance schedule, I guess, now for the first time in a long time. I assume a lot of the energy waste is in low SEER air conditioners. I mean, we got some really old units.
It's a conglomerate. I mean, there's a lot of issues. I mean, there's structural issues. I mean, we've identified a lot of things, and I don't know if we want to get into every little detail. I have provided reports that are available for
Problem is, we don't have money enough to save money.
What I'd like to see him do, though, is to do financing for us. You could do financing. You could identify the 35 air conditioners that we need replaced and do some sort of financing that will save us money.
You're talking about rebate programs or whatever.
Well, whatever, because
that crosses over into an area, because as a cooperative, it's not my money. It belongs to these people out here. I work for them. As a cooperative, we're a nonprofit. So in order for us to make those funds available, we either A, have to take it out of the capital credit funding that goes to our membership, or B, go out and use a financing resource that we have available to us.
That's what That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've studied those numbers, and the problem with it is that the amount of staff that I would have to employ to administer those programs don't make good financial sense for us to do that. We don't have the big coffers the city of Tallahassee has or Progress, so it's kind of hard for us to do that. There is, and I have suggested this, but I don't know, Mr. Evers could probably speak more to this about, I don't know if y'all have a full-time grant administrator on staff.
We do now, yes.
There's a tremendous amount of grant money out there, and we have been recipients of some of that. The AMI metering that we're now deploying was part of a grant. I myself received a $100,000 grant for the commercial energy auditing program that we actually do commercial facilities that we charge 25% of the actual cost, but we set that aside for the county. We opted not to charge at all to do it. We do it, free across the board because we felt like we already had a working relationship there.
It just makes sense, though, if you find that we've got $100,000 worth of equipment and we can borrow money at 2.5%, and that payment is $3,000 a month, and our bill right now is $7,000 a month. We need to go ahead and do that. We need to get this efficiency. We need to get these old efficient air conditioners out of our way and go to the new efficiency, and we need to do it as soon as we can.
Well, and that's what the analysis has. I mean, we've identified the low-hanging fruit. I think one of the things also that we haven't talked about, and one of the things that we have offered to do, and I've offered to do it, at whatever means or speed or desire you have to do that, is an education process to come in and, because oftentimes, let's be honest, employees at work sometimes aren't always as conscientious. It's not their bill. They don't see the bill at the end of the month, and maybe some retraining or redirection about. I know that that Mr. Edwards came in and started working on some of that. He's talked about it in some of our meetings that he has been able to attend. But some of the low-hanging fruit is so readily available, and has such a potential for savings. But until you get everybody on board to participate with that, I heard, and I don't know if this is supposed to be public information or not, but we're going to talk about it. I heard that there was a offer out there for anybody who'd come up with a great idea, that there was some money available and was it $1,000? There was $1,000 on the table for any county employee that could come up with a money-saving idea that would save the county enough to more than compensate for that, and nobody took advantage of it. And my first question is, maybe I'm living in the wrong county. I'd like $1,000. That's a lot of money to me.
Can commissioners participate?
I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Can you briefly, this low front hanging fruit you're talking about, just real briefly, what is that? Insulation, air conditioner replacement, turn the lights off?
Insulation is usually not your best bet. The lighting is a big issue, and they can identify that, and they're offering to do the audit for free, so you have nothing to lose. I'm not advocating his company. I don't have any affiliation. But if you're getting it for free and you find out whether or not it's available, HVAC is probably your biggest consumer. You realize that. You have a lot of glass surface area in a lot of your buildings that is non-filmed. It's cheap to film it. One of the ones was the IFAS facility that I did maybe 2 years ago. They have made some corrections, and I think, don't misquote me here, but I think they said they've already realized a 20% savings on their bill just from the suggestions that we gave them for the low-hanging fruit, and they haven't done any major repairs as of yet. Across the board, I feel like unequivocally we can save 30%. I don't think that's too difficult to do. Beyond that, there is some expenditure. And again, you're right, it has to be a cost-benefit analysis, but that's where we benefit you because we do the legwork for that. You know, we come in and say, this is where we think the best money will be spent, and I do that for residential or commercial.
I'd like to see that happen tomorrow, though, instead of continue to talk about it, because every day that we go forward, we lose money.
Well, I can tell you that from our standpoint, and not to be harsh here, but I think our last meeting, I was very candid, and I think progress has been too. Somebody needs to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
You know, I've audited up to this point, I don't even know how many facilities we've looked at. It's a number.
He does the audits, he finds the things that need to be addressed, and then nothing happens.
One thing about our administrator, he's very much into this program. He's sitting in an office right now that's not air conditioned. He's waiting on cold weather.
That's a
motivator. And part of that, and that's part of the problem is you know, we haven't number one, we haven't maintained anything because we laid all our maintenance people on.
One of the very first things I pointed out was there was no policies and procedures for your maintenance, and then you had 2 maintenance people to handle an entire county. And you know, I asked for them to be brought in one of the very first meetings, and they looked like deer in the headlights because I guess they thought I was the enemy or something. But really, what I wanted to find out was maintenance schedules, which we've talked about at length, and you had no maintenance schedule for anything. I mean, you're putting out fires as they happen, which is costing you it's like changing the oil in your car after your motor blows up. Doesn't do you much good.
Well, and that's what we're running into is that very thing. We like at the IFAS building, you know, none of the air conditioners had been maintained. The coils hadn't been cleaned in 10 plus years.
You knew the problem that I looked at, and I don't want to discuss that because there's some litigious
and the problem is it's a deep problem, and that's the reason we're creating the facilities department again. Is we got to start concentrating on, because we're spending a bunch of money, and when we need to be spending that correctly, moving forward in all these manners instead of patching stuff, and that's what we've done in the past, is patch, and we can't do that anymore.
One of my suggestions is that we find, when we are interviewing people for this facilities manager position, that we find somebody who's knowledgeable about energy savings and you know, that can put some of these measures into place, identify additional ones and pursue them, as well as do all the routine maintenance and so forth that really hasn't been done.
Do you, I'm sure some of the schools are on Talcum, correct?
Actually, that's a good point. I am meeting with them tomorrow. They did hire a full-time staff member for energy conservation, and I was approached by them to get a deeper second look. One of the reasons is that we use thermal imaging as part of our process. I guess maybe one of the only nationally rated thermographers in the area. There might be 1 or 2 more I'm not aware of, but so that's another service that we provide. That, you know, this is equipment that's very high end. I mean, most of these cameras I'm utilizing are $8,000 or more. So we've offered to do that, and we are going into the schools. Actually, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I'm starting the first facility.
My question was, I notice they all have recently got solar panels. I assume those are grid-tied solar systems.
I'm sure they are.
I wonder, do they get a grant and pay for those? I know this has nothing to do with us.
They did get a grant for the 2 schools that are emergency shelters.
I would caution you on the...
It's a grid tie, though, right?
Right, it's bi-directional metering. We pay you the same value that you pay us. That's an agreement we have with Seminole, our G&T. They handle all that. We have quite a few systems on our lines, residential and commercial. In fact, we're up.
I guess from the county standpoint, can we borrow money to make money?
Sure.
Well, then we need to go ahead and buy the money.
Well, first we got to identify everything, and that's one of the problems we got, is we got to have feet on the ground inspecting everything and develop a plan, and then, because once we go, we need to have a full comprehensive program, and right now, I just don't have the staff to do it, so.
And we've talked about this before. I mean, Commissioner Arts for 4 years has stressed the importance of trying to reduce electricity consumption to balance our budget. She's the one who offered $1,000 of her cash of her salary. She would write the check if you could find a way to reduce energy savings, which I made a suggestion. But we also, and you're touching on 2 different things when you're talking about with the air conditioning. You have our board has not jumped on the reduce electricity to save money option, and we've talked about it at length in the past. It's good to see people getting excited about it tonight. I hope we can move forward with some of those suggestions in the near future. We're also talking about the issues you're bringing up with some of our facilities needing maintenance and needing repair and getting on a maintenance schedule. That's a problem that I know that our board noticed, and it's one of the main reasons we hired David Edwards. It was one of the first questions I asked in the interview process was, what are we going to do about buildings falling apart? Because at that time, right before we hired him, a roof caved in next door, and that's the kind of thing you should see coming before it hurts things. So I know that we're getting that worked out, and we're on the right path now. But I think this discussion of energy conservation is excellent. I think we'll talk about it again at the end of the meeting. I know Commissioner Arts has 2 items.
Yeah, I just want for the department heads who are here, please, he has offered to come in and do educational workshops for employees. He'd prefer to have more than 2 people,
It would be nice if we had, at least 10. I mean, just because I do a lot of this, I sit on a lot of boards, I have a lot of other obligations other than that, but I mean, I would be willing to do that. We do it for civic organizations, and while we're on that, we have a complete public relations department that'll do schools. We do actually are very active, but any civic organization that wants someone to come in and speak, we'll do that. I do builders, whatever. I mean, this is a partnership we'd like to keep and maintain. We think it's a good partnership, and we certainly want to
I guess I oversimplify things, but if it were me, if it were my business, I would send somebody out to every one of the air conditioners, and every one of them that didn't have that had a 10 SEER, that's one that I would replace. You just start with 10 SEERs. It doesn't take it's a no-brainer to figure out what the SEER is on an air conditioning unit, and how bad a 10 SEER is in an 18 SEER world. So,
and again, you're right. That is a simplified answer, and I guess I would caution you in this: even if you replace it to a good air conditioner, but your building looks like Swiss cheese, it's still going to run, excessively.
That's the very reason we haven't replaced the one at the BOCC building.
It's hard to.
That very reason.
And the ceiling.
Also, his office is cold and has
Yeah, my office is cold.
I was going to say,
that entire facility, we got to look at the duct work, because it doesn't make sense to replace what we got there.
But when they hire the new facility manager, I've already committed to make sure that you meet with him or her, and so that you can have an ongoing partnership with them.
We'll do whatever we need. Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate you coming out this evening. Up next on the awards and presentation is going to be Ms. Sherry Kraft with the 4-H. Talking about her building just a minute ago, some of the improvements they've done, reducing electricity consumption by 20%.
Yes. I'd like to thank the Commission, please, again, for supporting the Wakulla County 4-H program. And I have 3 quick announcements that I'd like to make. October is a busy month in 4-H, and the first thing I'd like to say is that October 7th through 13th, which is next week, is National 4-H Week. And I know, Commissioner Brock, you are an alum, so please wear green at least one day and take your picture and send it to me. And we will be be happy to post that if you are an alum of 4-H, especially in Wakulla County. We'd like to sort of celebrate alumni and new members. So in order to celebrate National 4-H Week, it happens to also coincide with something very important, and that is the National Youth Science Day experiment. That will take place on October the 10th. We have 9 participating classrooms, and this year's experiment is Engineering Robotic Solutions. And it's particularly interesting that the Ohio State University Extension designed our program this year. It's called the 4-H EcoBot Challenge, and it is to allow children to build a robot that cleans up a simulated oil spill. Since we are obviously a county that was affected by that, I think our kids will really find this very interesting. I wanted to share with you one thing that is a research study that was developed by Dr. Richard Lerner with the Tufts University Institute for Applied Research and Youth Development about participation in 4-H youth programs. The longitudinal study performed by Dr. Lerner found that when compared to their peers, young people involved in 4-H are nearly 2 times more likely to get better grades in school, nearly 2 times more likely to plan to go to college, and nearly 3 times more likely to participate in science, engineering, or computer technology programs. So, again, thank you for your support. And our last program announcement will be a babysitting course that will be offered on the first planning day of this year on Friday, October the 19th. And I wanted to make that announcement so that teens ages 12 to 18 can sign up and come and be a better babysitter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Arts, you said you had 2 more announcements?
I'm going to reduce it to 1.
Awesome.
On Friday, October 5th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., please come to Hudson Park. October is Disability Awareness Month, and they're having a picnic in the park to focus on ability. So they're going to be, there are free hot dogs and displays. They're going to spotlight local student talent. There's going to be displays and information about vocational rehab, Special Olympics, Florida Diagnostic and Learning Resources System, the Family Network on Disabilities, and so forth. So I just wanted to announce that.
Oh, thank you very much. Again, we're going to come back to the announcement regarding Restore Act later in our agenda, so just stay tuned for that. Up next on our agenda, it's scheduled, we're going to come back to it at 6:30, as Citizens to be Heard. We come back to that at around 6:30 to try and provide a consistent time for people. And we encourage anyone who'd like to speak on any issue related to county business to fill out a card and speak at that point. It needs to make sure that it's something that's going to be relevant to county business. Thank you. Up next is our consent agenda.
Motion approved.
We pulled item 15. We have a motion to approve everything but item 15. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. We're going to go to item 15, which is request board approval of the 2013 and state and federal legislative priorities.
I wanted to pull this because under our summary, we're saying our 2012 legislative priorities include countywide stormwater plan, Wakulla Garden sewer expansion, upgrade existing wastewater treatment plant, communications tower to improve public safety, and statewide priorities. I recommend that we're going to talk about this infrastructure plan later. Everything that's here is in that infrastructure plan, plus that infrastructure plan has more in it. I'd recommend that we just make our infrastructure plan our legislative priority. That's the thing we're trying to get funding for, right? Basically. But the communications tower is not in there. I want to make sure we keep that in there, which I assume is the Smith Creek cell phone tower. So that'd be my suggestion. Instead of just limited it to these 4 or 5 things, all these are in there anyway, in whatever format. If we add more to it, then good for us.
Did you make that as a motion?
Yes, I did.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Only thing is, man, I agree with you, that's a good idea, but if we don't prioritize them, then what's going to be a priority to the board? Well, when you talk about this whole booklet, if money falls out of the sky from the legislature, which is doubtful, but if it does, well, what is the priority out of that booklet?
I guess the corollary of that is true also. Some of these things on here, like countywide stormwater plan, I'd much rather see funding for Shell Point boat ramp than I have for a countywide stormwater plan, which I don't think really means anything. So things that are more important, we've only given them 3 or 4 priorities here. What about all the other things we're going to try? And I don't think this is like This is not something they're only going to work on this
That's
because
right.
we're making this vote tonight.
That's right.
But I'd like to include all of them in there. We know they're not going to go work on every one of them. But if the legislature comes down and say, hey, what's your priorities? We have money to fund boat ramps, but not wastewater or whatever, then here's our priorities. It's in it. And I think this is more of a symbolic thing than anything else, to be honest with you.
But your opinion about a boat ramp is more important than, in my case.
That was just an example. That doesn't mean that's the way I think. It's just an example.
I think we're gonna be the ones pretty much directing this anyway. This is a layout plan for us.
I think the point Commissioner Stewart's making is that we want to make sure that I think that we can include the book as a list of priorities, but I do think we need to pick 3 or 4 that we say these are our top priorities for our county, so that we can go and say, if someone says, what's the biggest thing you need for Wakulla County, we can say it is.
And the reason I say this, excuse me, Alan, is if you think back, which was before you guys, but we prioritized the board that sat then, the city of Sopchoppy sewer system. We made that a priority, and that's what got funded, because that was the kind of money that they had available then to do it, and that's how that came about. Had we not done that, Wakulla County probably wouldn't have been even on the map to get money to do that.
Well, the main thing I have grief in here with is this countywide stormwater plan appears to be #1 priority, and that's been around for what, 10, 12 years? I still don't even know what it is.
That would be primarily the Crawfordville stormwater. That's where it
Which is in the
would
book.
start. That's
If
right.
it's Crawfordville stormwater, then I think we need to say it instead of trying to make a plan for the entire county from Smith Creek to Newport.
I don't disagree with that. I think we need to have some time where we spend talking about what we want our priorities to be. To me, this is not enough time and information. Just looking at that short list you got there, to me, the most important thing would be
Sewer expansion.
Yeah.
Well, that is. I mean, we're working. Our priorities are sewer plant, because that's our big next looming.
But we need a board priority.
Yeah,
And I think I don't have a problem including that, but I think that's too broad, and it doesn't narrow the scope of what we want to tell the legislators
Well, do you want
priorities are.
maybe table this and bring it back with more specifics?
I don't know how it actually works. I mean, I don't want to make this any harder than it is. Well, I don't know does the legislature actually ask you what's your top priority?
Yes, they have done that every year that I've been here.
we'll come back with a list.
I agree with
I think that's the best
100%.
idea.
And in terms of stormwater, I agree Crawfordville, but also Wakulla Gardens.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table it then and come back with a more concise list.
Okay, first motion's dropped. Commissioner Merritt and Commissioner Moore, motion and second to table it. So we'll just all work with the county administrator to make the program, because I'm good with that.
That's what I'd like to
Make a
do.
mess out of it, you know what I mean?
All in
We
favor?
agree. Aye.
Aye.
Pass unanimously to table. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on now to planning and zoning items. Our first planning and zoning item this evening is an application for change of zoning R11-04. Item number 10 on the agenda this evening. Mr. Louis Cerna.
First, Mr. Chairman, this is a quasi-judicial matter, so in accordance with Section 24.01 of the County Code, each commission member needs to disclose any contact they may have received from interested parties, their representatives, any lobbyists, or other third parties concerning. And I'll take, for this purpose, the applications at tab 10 and 11, since they are related. Commissioner Arts?
Thank you. I had a very pleasant meeting with Collins Foreman, Thurman Roddenberry, and Bob Danzy to discuss these properties. I also was given this survey map, and I've been to the property. I've also talked about this with staff.
Commissioner Moore?
I've spoken with Collins Foreman, Bob Danzy, Thurman Roddenberry, and some of the neighbors, and I've been to the property.
I spoke with Collins Foreman and Bob Danzy, and I've been to the property.
Okay. Next, if there is anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, and I'd like to remind you, you'll be sworn in for items 10 and 11, so we don't have to do it again. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Serna?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is, the first request is for the change in zoning from RR1, semi-rural residential and agriculture, to planned unit development. The parcel is 28.02 acres located on the north side of Aaron Road and south of Wakulla Aaron Road. The surrounding zoning around the property is primarily agriculture and RR1. Agriculture has a maximum density of one dwelling unit per 5 acres, and R1 allows up to one dwelling unit per 1 acre. The proposed PUD proposes 47 lots. The PUD is known as Muir Woods. It's 47 lots on 28 acres for a proposed density of one dwelling unit per 1.68 acres. The property is located in the Crawfordville study area, and an area designated for low-density residential development. The rezoning went to the Planning Commission on August 13th. The Planning Commission voted 6 to 1 in favor of this. Staff is also recommending in favor of this rezoning.
You said it's urban 1, future land use?
Yes,
Okay, which is 2 units to the acre, correct?
that's correct.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Long thing to read. I'll make a motion to conduct the final public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance amending the official zoning map, amending the official zoning from RR1 and Ag PUD, based upon recognition of the Planning Commission and the finding of facts conclusion law made by the board and evidence submitted here and hereon, and accepted the staff report.
All right, motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have several citizens to be heard who filed cards to speak on this item this evening, and when we're done, we'll call for the agent if he has any comments. Mr. Chuck Hess, representing SeaCal.
Chuck Hess, 112 Lake Ellen. This is the right place for development. However, right now we have 7,000 buildable lots in Wakulla County. We're a long way from needing this kind of development. We have people that live around this area that bought agricultural land to be out and have a low density housing. It seems that while in the long run this area probably will be developed, it just doesn't seem like it needs to be done right now. And with the locals, unless you work out, you get it such that the neighbors are a little more congenial to it. Why not put it off? And if you put it off, then he doesn't have to build. By then, hopefully, Wakulla Aaron, the rest of the Aaron Road will be paved, and he can access this parcel from that, and he doesn't have to pave a road and create a road through a wetland. So it seems like it would be a good idea just to put this development off, and this would be something for the developer to do down the road a little later. Thank you.
Thank you. Howard Kessler.
Thank you. Howard Kessler, 251 Levy Bay Road. I heard this board appear to agree that our county did not need more approvals of residential subdivisions. This is more residential. I heard this board appear to agree that our county needed more commercial land zoning. This isn't commercial, this is residential. This economy is tough. Most of our homeowners have lost significant value in their homes. Poor market, oversupply of homes, homes for sale, homes in bankruptcy, homes abandoned. There has also been a significant decrease in our county's population. Many of our homeowners are now prisoners to their own homes because they can't sell them. You have choices. You can help the county,
You can help the present homeowners of our county, or you can help a developer. By talking against more residential subdivisions, but voting for more residential subdivisions, you are not helping our county, and certainly you are not helping the homeowners of our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Clint Botwell.
Clint Botwell, 295 Wakulla Aaron Road. My property directly abuts this property on the east side. I've spoken against this project from its inception. It is ill-placed. It's completely incompatible with the surrounding area. It sets the wrong precedent in expanding the density for residential development. The precedent has already been set just a quarter mile down Wakulla Aaron Road. Even so, this project has advanced through 2 planning and zoning board meetings and now through 3 separate county commissions. It seems to be a foregone conclusion, so therefore considering that the applicant's agent reached out to me on Friday and offered to do some things that make the project more amenable, such as privacy fencing and that sort of thing, I'd like for if you're going to pass this ill-advised project, then at least hold them to that. Have them erect privacy fencing along the perimeters. The fencing that it's up on Wakulla Aaron Road now is easily bypassed, and then you've got 47 times on average 2 vehicles accessing a 1-lane dirt road to navigate around school buses and all the other folks who fly up and down that road. And also, I'm still not convinced that the runoff from this property will be alleviated by the planned stormwater pond, and I'm very concerned about my water well. I'm not really concerned that the houses that will be built there will have city water and city sewer. I'm more concerned about the water that I drink and the runoff from the 47 times 2 vehicles, etc., that will impact my well, which is approximately 100 yards from the bulk of where all these dwellings will sit. So, if you're going to pass this project, privacy fencing, buffers, and I think you should also stub out, when that water main is pulled, stub out a meter for the existing homeowners, and I think the county should pay for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Douglas Hammonds.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Doug Hammonds. I represent my wife, Peggy Joyce Hammonds, my daughter, which is guardian for the estate of Eloise Harvey, and my brother-in-law, Paul Harvey, which is also an adjacent property owner. The way the agenda is set, I had a proposal or a presentation to you which combined the two. I'm going to reserve part of the technical stuff until the second 3 minutes allow me. This is spot zoning, and it's worse. I've been there, I've done that. I've been in development all my life, been a road builder all my life, and have dealt with some of the greatest, finest people in the world. And I've seen some of the worst, and this is one of the worst. This is a detriment to the adjacent property owners, to the county as a whole, to your citizens and constituents that have put you in this office. that expect you to protect their rights, and their rights right now are very marginal because of the economy, the financial disasters we all are so unfortunate to be looking at. There's nothing right about this project, and we'll get into that a little later as far as the technical aspects are concerned. There have been so much ambiguity in the presentation to the permitting process and the zoning boards as it relates to some of the characteristics of this property that will later come out. I just want to say in short, so I won't waste your time, thank you to the people of the Planning Commission. They have been such a great bunch of girls over there helping me pull together some things in a very quick nature, fine people, and I have enjoyed a short conversation with Chairman Brock on the phone. I think it was last Saturday, just to let him know I was coming down and say hello. We are, as property owners, adamantly opposed to this rezoning. It is absolutely not necessary. In 2005, 2006, 2007, this is one of the fastest growing counties in the country. The feasibility at that time would have been there. Everybody was building around it. It's built some fine subdivisions and as well, nice looking stuff here. It is not feasible at this point in time. This developer will have more money than he could ever hope to recapture for sales of 47 lots. He'll never get his money back. Never. We're looking at a project that's going to be rezoned and delayed for development for the next 15, 20 years. Maybe not my lifetime will I see a house built on that piece of property, but yet it will be rezoned to be resold to somebody else that might want to pursue it a little further, spread it out a little longer, take a few more tax credits, etc., etc., etc. It is bad business, and y'all are putting yourself in some terrible positions having to defend this type of rezoning request. And I thank you for your time, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Paul Harvey?
Commissioners, I'm Paul Harvey, and I come before you as a taxpayer, a landowner, concerned citizen, and a voter. And I've been in the road construction and land development business around 25 years, and I know a lot of ups and downs on it. First of all, I've done a little research on what's going on, and the water table on my property and my neighbors is at a 33, and the land contour would be a 36. And they're proposing the top of the pond to be built, which is 4 foot deep, is at a 38 contour, and this won't work. There's going to be overflow water, and they can't control it. A small portion of this project is only on the new town plan, not the whole thing, just a small corner. And a lot of questions are still under concern about the wetlands on this project. They've covered some, but there's still a whole bunch that hadn't been covered to build it. And if it does get passed and built, the kids walking to school will have to cross the busy Aaron Highway to an elementary school, and it's going to be elementary kids doing it. And you'd have a crossing guard, a new light, and everything there. All the property owners around this project are 100% against it. I've talked to every one of them. The smallest tract of land by a property owner joining this is 6 acres touching the project. The project's going to need a pumping station for the sewer, which runs about $80,000 from the bill. Right now, it's a bad economy. There's empty homes everywhere, foreclosures every day, and everybody's expecting more. You talk to the property appraiser, you talk to anybody that's building. I'm asking you, as a citizen and as a landowner by it, to do what's right, turn this project down. The county don't need it. Thank you.
And Bob Danzy, our last speaker.
Hi, my name is Bob Danzy, and thank you for allowing me to speak. The first thing I'd like to say is that I support this. It meets all of the requirements that the county has asked. The county gives a person some rules, they follow them, and then, I guess you can't expect it to be passed, but you can expect the right thing to happen if you do follow the rules. I guarantee you to pass, is what I should have said. I think that I respect the neighbors, I do, but I also think they want to do what they want to do on their land. I think another person should be able to do what he wants to do on his land. So, with that being said, it's in the town center. Y'all have mentioned that that's where you wanted to put development. It's across the road from the school. I think that's the place for this development. There's a lot of good things about it. There was a fence that was offered in the beginning, but it was turned down. So, with respect to Mr. Batwell's conversation with you all, I think he had the chance to have that fence, and he turned that fence down. So, I would ask you not to put that as part of the deal. As far as the wetlands are concerned, there's permits through DEP and Corps of Engineer. All those permits are there. If you get these two votes tonight, then you'll have the permission of the county also. So, well, I do want to say one thing in closing. There's an element of this that has turned political, and that's just not very fair. There's a former commissioner that got up and spoke against this project a while ago, ex-Commissioner Kessler. And I just don't think that is the place, this is the place or the time to have that interjected. It just creates politics in a local government that it just shouldn't be in. And is in a tight race. I realize that, but this is not the place. This is not the time for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the citizens filed cards. I'm not sure if the agent would like to speak now, or would you like us to wait and see if we have any questions?
I got a question for Thurman.
Thurman, could you come on?
Thurman, he said y'all spoke a couple days ago, is that?
Yeah, we spoke as early as last, what was it, Friday?
And then did you in fact offer to put
Yeah, we offered to put a landscape buffer up or a fence. We didn't indicate if it was going to be a 6-foot privacy fence. I think that might be what he was trying to go for, but that's a very expensive fence. My client has agreed to put up a landscape buffer, wax myrtle hedgerow, some cypress, there's some sort of native cypress tree that creates a nice buffer. He's agreed to do that. Or a fence, but a field fence.
Is this part of the PUD document now, this buffer Thurman's describing?
Well, we have a landscape buffer, but it's a natural landscape buffer. Nothing's built. We're just going to leave the buffer 35 foot.
But you just said you were going to plant wax myrtles or something like that.
Along Mr. Boutwell's property and Paul's property. We offered them that. And they both said they would think about it. And tonight was the first indication what they wanted, and that would come from just Mr. Boutwell. But we are amenable to giving them.
So you would be agreeable to do that?
The landscape buffer, not the 6-foot privacy fence, because it's a little bit, that's costly.
Could we incorporate that into the PUD document? What Thurman just said about the planted landscape buffer?
That you could, yes.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to include that in it. Agree.
Okay. Are there other questions?
I just want to clarify, do you want to clarify where that buffer is going to go? Because you just mentioned two properties.
Yeah, we offered to put it along Paul Harvey's property as well as Mr. Boutwell's property, which is on the east side and the south side, but not the extent of the south side.
Okay. Other questions for the agent while he's here?
I just wanted to thank, when I met with Collins Foreman and Thurman Roddenberry and Bob Danzy, I encouraged them to talk to the neighbors and see if they could not reach some kind of a better relationship, and to look at the possibilities of a living fence or, actual plantings or some more kind of a physical barrier.
Yes,
and so
you did.
I appreciate you doing that. I really do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other comments you want to state to us?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. If you want to sit up front, we'll let you know if we might have more questions for you. Are there any other comments from the board? Ms. Shards?
Well, I feel very badly for the neighbors, and I have not supported this project since it first came to the board. And I think some of the comments that were made by the first speaker in particular are sort of my feelings. It's not in the town center, the town core. It's in what they call the study area. And when I look at all the surrounding properties, this looks like leapfrog zoning to me, and that those densities over time may progress out that way, but I don't think now's the time for it. And I also don't think that we need a lot more residential development right now. We have a surplus of houses, and so that argument resonates with me too. So I'm not going to support this.
Okay. Any further discussion? Mr. Moore? No? Okay. Well, again, we've talked about this before in the past. I've brought it up several times. I think this is a great project. It's across the street from an elementary school. It's where people want to build houses. And that's where people want to live, so they can walk their kids to school in the morning and make sure their kids can come home safe in the afternoons. I think it's nice. Hearing no further discussion, I'm going to ask for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Passes 4-1. Up next this evening is application for preliminary plat PP 11-01 Muir Woods Subdivision, Muir Woods LLC, owner Thurman Roddenberry, agent. Mr. Louis Sterna is going to be speaking on this. If the county attorney needs to check and see if anyone in addition plans to speak on this item who did not plan to speak on the last item. Is there anyone who did not speak last time who plans to speak this time so you can be sworn? Seeing none, your swearing in from last time will still carry over to this item. Mr. Cerna?
Yes, board members, this is the preliminary plat approval for the PUD that you just approved. It is for 47 lots, and it does include buffers surrounding the property, and the PUD standards do govern what type of development can go on the property and setbacks, etc. Again, the Planning Commission recommended in favor of this, and staff is recommending approval of this preliminary plat as well.
Do we have a motion?
Move to conduct the final public hearing and approve the proposed application for preliminary plat PP 11-01 based upon the recommendation of Planning Commission and the findings of fact and conclusions of law made by the board and any evidence submitted at the hearing hereon, and accepting the staff report.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have 3 citizens who have filed cards to speak this evening. Mr. Douglas Hammonds, to be followed by Dr. Howard Kessler.
This one I'm going to have to read, gentlemen. I can't think fast enough. The gentleman, Mr. Danley, brought up a very important issue when he brought up Mr. Kessler and his political views concerning this project. There are other people who apparently have political views of this project because their signs are located definitely right in the middle of the access to the property. This is a political issue. Maybe not from you, but from your constituents, your voters. The citizens of this county is definitely a political issue. With that said, I'd like to proceed, and I hope I have enough time to get it all in. I hereby request that you deny the application for preliminary plat approval on the subject property. While there are many reasons for you to consider, I request to deny, all of which will be addressed at a later date. To apply with the time restraints imposed on this presentation, I have listed a few for your evaluation and consideration. They're as follows. This is an example of spot zoning and its worst, which we've already discussed. This is a threat to the existing designated wetlands protected by several government agencies, which include DEP and Wakulla County. The developer has not complied with all of the requirements as set forth in Chapter 32, parentheses, Wetlands of the Wakulla County, Florida Code of Ordinances. Best management practices have not been followed, and pertinent data has not been presented to this development in the total is a total contradiction to the purpose of wetland preservation. There has been no consideration nor data presented for the protection of wildlife, plants, gopher tortoise guidelines, revised September 2012, Chapter 68A of Florida Administrative Code. The topography information used for the stormwater management facility, borings, foundation, building slabs, utility, streets, and drainage is outdated and erroneous. No subsurface investigation or evaluation have been submitted for any portion of this property other than the stormwater management facility, which covers a total of 1-point-something acres. Soil types and groundwater elevations make you ask certain questions. One of the questions is, why such an excessive fill requirement on such a small piece of property if there aren't problems yet to be defined and be discovered? Adjacent property samples that Mr. Harvey has presented to you shows the existing water table at higher ground being closer to the ground than it does on this property. Subsurface investigation prepared by the Environmental and Geotechnical Specialists Incorporated is restricted to the 5 stormwater management facility borings and does not address the balance of the property as stated in the closure. Quote, subsurface conditions at other locations may vary significantly from this.
Mr. Hammond, that's your 3 minutes.
Already?
Already.
Well, I'll finish it in my concerned citizen report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kessler? To be followed by Bob Danzig.
Thank you. Howard Kessler, 251 Lady Day Road. When I was commissioner, I had concerns with this project. And I hope that you've done the business of looking into all of those concerns and know that what is being proposed is actually going to work. I still have my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bob Danzig?
Bob Danzig is my name, and thank you for letting me speak again. I realize I can't ask questions here, but I want to bring up, at one time there was talk about a 40-year, I guess, moratorium on the entitlements, and I just want to say that I don't agree with that if that's still in play. I don't know if it is or not. I haven't heard anything about it, but I know it was talked about at the last meeting when this was voted on last time. So, with that being said, I oppose that for lots of reasons, but y'all will, I guess, decide if it is, or I guess Louis will know if it's still in the deal or not. This project has been approved by the engineer that the applicant hired. It's been approved by the county's engineer, and it's been approved by another engineering firm here in town. So if there's engineering problems, then I respect that, but I guess I have to know specifically what they are, and then I suppose they'll be fixed. So I'll just leave that at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thurman, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
The gentleman before Mr. Kessler brought up a lot of almost very technical sounding things. So I have our engineer here, Mr. Howard Jobin, would be glad to go over any of the drainage problems or that he might have brought up, which I'm sure there aren't any. I know that early on, when our county was, early on in earlier years, our county would allow developers to develop property without a lot of regulations. And somebody, the county commissioner, somebody came along with the vision and intelligence to develop this land development code. And I applaud those folks. There was a lot of hard work, and they've done a good job. And I'm proud to say that this development followed that land development code, complies with it, and has used all of the engineers and all of the proper experts and professionals to make sure that it did. And I have 3 of them with me tonight if we have any questions that has to do with the civil, the environmental, all the proper, I think Bob went over the wetlands issue. DEP and the Corps of Engineers both have permitted it for the wetlands. So I see no problems with this project at all. If you have any questions, I have 3 of our professionals and experts are there to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Can we clear up the one issue, Louis, about the 40-year expiration? Is that on the PUD?
That has not been included, but we, in staff's opinion, they've satisfied the requirements of the scheduling that's referenced in the Land Development Code, but it's not currently in the PUD or the preliminary plat. I'd also like to mention for the board, this stormwater was reviewed by Preble Risch and who's the county's consultant. They are here tonight if you have any questions regarding the technical aspects of the stormwater. I don't know if he's prepared to answer every specific question, but I think he can answer the question that it was reviewed. There was a third-party review, and it does satisfy the requirements of the state and as well as the county.
Okay. Any additional questions from the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Passes 4-1. All right, thank you all. Up next this evening is an application for variance V12-09, Virginia Moffett owner, Jim Esner agent. Mr. Sterna, we'll start with the county attorney to ask us if we have...
Thank you. In accordance with your ex parte section of your code, each commission member needs to disclose any contact that you may have received about this application. Commissioner Arts?
I met with staff.
Commissioner Moore?
No.
Commissioner Brock?
Spoke with the owner.
Staff?
None.
Okay. If there is anyone here who is going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn. This includes the applicant. Please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
We'll call you up.
Commissioners, this request is for a variance to reduce the wetland and other surface water body setbacks for Lot 2, Block A of Shell Point, Unit 1. The subject property is 0.2 acres and is located on Shell Point Road. On September 10th, the Planning Commission considered the variance and voted unanimously to recommend approval of the variance. Staff is recommending denial of this request because the applicant has not been denied reasonable use of the property if he's held to the required 75-foot setback from the water, and that is a standard that's listed in the land development regulations for variances. So again, staff is recommending denial of this. The applicant has proposed to develop 60 feet from the mean high water line. The required setback is 75 feet. He's proposing a 44 by 44 square foot footprint for his building, and if you can see from the survey, it's sort of hard to see. The Appalachian Bay is to the south, and you can see the 44 by 44 square foot area that he wants to build his house in. He can move that back outside of the 75-foot buffer and still meet the setbacks required by the zoning district. Again, so we don't feel like he has been denied reasonable use of the property. It is the adjacent house to this lot is built back 75 feet from the water line. Again, staff is recommending denial of this. Should you approve it, we have a couple of conditions that we would like included, as well as a finding of fact.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve to conduct the public hearing and deny the application for variance V1209 based on the recommendation of staff and the findings of fact and conclusions of law made by the board and any evidence submitted at the hearing hereon.
Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any citizens' cards, Katie? The agent like to come, or the property owner?
This may have been disposed of easier if we just wait and see if there's a motion to approve it. It may already been done with this suggestion.
I can withdraw then.
You don't mind?
Did you withdraw your motion?
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion. Are you
Motion.
okay with
Well,
withdrawing it?
I think the motion's withdrawn. Is there a motion for approval?
We don't have to make a motion to do anything, do we?
No, but you still might want to let the applicant
Come and speak. The applicant like to come and, would you like to come and speak, sir? I know, but Heather said let me.
Do we not need a motion to at least hold the public hearing? I'm just asking.
I think you
Sure.
need to.
Okay.
I move that we conduct the public hearing.
Second.
Sir?
I'm Jim Essner, and the reason that it was set back 60 feet instead of 75 is so it would be in line with the other houses. That's less than the old 50-foot setback was before we came up with the law that said 75 feet. So it's less than that, so that if we turn around and we grandfather in the other ones next month, you're going to say that we can build it 50 feet. But this lot is set so that he has the house so that it'll be in line with the rest of the home. That's why it's 60 feet back. And I disagreed with when they said that there's 75 foot from the house back to the next door neighbor house. No, it's 60 feet.
Mr. Moore?
I'd like to see this go forward. My only question is that I understand that if we approve the 60 foot when we're in a 75 foot world, that it opens us up to litigation down the road. And having said that, I'd like to see the 75 foot go away and go back to our 35, because we're going to have this happen time after time after time after time as we go forward. This is probably the second time that it's happened, but it's going to happen a lot to us. So I don't know.
Commissioner Stewart?
Louis is the adjacent landowner. I don't know which direction that is, east or west, but isn't it at 75 feet right next door?
To the west, it's scaled off at 75 feet. I don't have a survey of that property, but just from my understanding, it appears to be 75 feet. It is staggered. The one next to the one to the west appears to be closer to the water. I scaled that one at 60 feet, but the one immediately next door, you can see it on the aerial. The one immediately next door.
Katie, go to attachment number 4, please, and scroll down, and that'll be a good, they'll have an aerial of that, not aerial, but a photo of that.
Well, you can see there, the bottom one to the left, that they aren't in a line.
Right.
Well, the problem again becomes that since 1994, we've had the 75-foot buffer, and we've made it, and we're in the process of making it so that a lot that's small can still be built on, but your lot is large enough that you can build the house you're trying to build and still have the 75-foot buffer.
Then it's going to sit back behind the house next door. It's going to sit behind the house, but not be in line with it.
Jim, I wouldn't have a problem with 60 foot if everybody else was 60 foot, but
they're all 60 foot. That's what it is.
Not all, no, there can't be. There's a distinction.
The one right next
no,
door.
one of them's 60, and I think this one's 75. The nearest one here to us, the front pilings are 75. So I agree with Jerry. I'd like to see us be able to do it. However, I think legal counsel is telling us, and she can tell us with her own mouth here to all of us, but I was told that when I was briefed today, that we're setting ourselves up for litigation, and I'm not going to go down that road anymore.
Let me ask, Willie, you mentioned something that could happen on this. Did you started to say something that we could work this through?
No,
Okay.
he could move the building, basically, and meet the 75 feet is perhaps
Oh, yeah.
what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
If I had my druthers, we wouldn't have wetlands ordinance at all. I think
This
it's
isn't the
all-
wetlands ordinance.
I know. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here if I had my druthers.
Well, the other thing is if I'm living in that house in the middle, and he's complied and he's got 75 feet, and then you put a 65 feet, I mean, he can't see anymore except straight out. We're going to block part of his view, and I mean, that doesn't seem fair either. But again, I'm going to defer to legal counsel, and if, like you suggested, Jerry, we don't want to do that.
And I just want to, real quick, to clarify, it's not the wetlands ordinance that's causing this problem, it's our comp plan. Since 1994, we've had the 75-foot buffer in there. The wetlands ordinance allows the variables that lets us build, like if our wetlands ordinance said we could do this, it'd be the wetlands ordinance that would let us do it.
We have a wetlands ordinance because of the comp plan.
But also, this becomes an alignment issue out in the field more than a wetland issue.
And I want to stick with what I said in my compromise, which was, I want you to be able to do whatever you can with your property. If he wanted to build this house and couldn't do it except for the buffer, I would approve it in 2 seconds.
I agree.
But I sat here myself, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I said, if you can do the house you want to build on your property and not get in the buffer, then you should do that.
And
So
that's-
I'm sticking
and
with
we
what
all
I
agree
said.
with that. I think
Yes. I think it should be an automatic exemption.
And if the amendment I brought back comes back, it would be.
If he wanted to build a 50,000 square foot house and needed to get in the buffer, I would approve it. Now, we have difference of opinion on that.
Ours
but
might
anyway,
cap the house.
I'm going to stick with what I said.
Okay. So we've had the public hearing. Do you have any further comments, sir? Do we need to?
Move to conclude the public hearing.
I don't think we need to do anything.
And we conducted it. We didn't make a motion, so it's done.
Yeah. We're not going to move either direction today, sir. Thank you. We're not going to reject it or approve it.
It died for...
It died for a lack of a motion. All right. Do we need a motion? Did we vote on the actual public hearing, Evelyn? All right. All in favor of having the public hearing?
Aye.
Thank you. We're at 6:30. Time for citizens to be heard. Exciting time of every meeting. I want to remind everyone again that with citizens to be heard, you need to make sure what you're bringing up is relevant to county business. It's an opportunity for you to speak, but we need to make sure it's relative to county business and things that will be coming before the board.
No politics.
That is the gist. First up this evening is going to be Mr. Jack Rudlow. You're up. First to speak. We have quite the handful this evening. He's going to be followed by Mr. Hugh Taylor.
Actually, I want to announce some very good news. We just got a grant, Gulf Specimen Marine Lab, from Florida A&M University to bring our C-Mobile, which is a traveling marine trailer, to all Wakulla County schools without charge. So we will be taking this trailer around and making sure that as many grades as possible within the school systems are going to be getting that. And we've already had it at a number of schools, and the kids absolutely get totally delighted and excited about it. So what I want to do is I'm going to hand you some brochures and then talk about another little issue that we would like to, discuss that's going to be in the Restore Act as well. And so let me just pass these out to you, and you can get a look at the C-Mobile from the others if you haven't seen it. It's the only vehicle that runs down the highway with a 10-foot hammerhead shark mounted on the top. So,
Hand them here, Jack. I'll pass them out.
Okay, what is also mentioned in there, and I really seek your counsel on how to do this, is that we want to expand an exhibit at Gulf Specimen, which is called the Dr. Ann Rudlow Memorial Octopus Garden.
And this is located on some land that we have across the street and would also move into some county property. We can work this out to have a birding observation tower. But the octopus garden is sort of a fanciful idea of having woodland trails with large models of like big sharks and turtles and other creatures where you kind of walk through the palmetto in the woods and all of a sudden you appear, you come across this big beast that's going to be sitting there looking at you. And we also have to have this with boardwalks, light trails at night, which would have lights that would come on. We really feel that this would help the county tremendously because it would be a very unique exhibit. I've inquired, there is nothing like this anywhere else, and we think it would be a big draw. We'd like to see it included in the Restore Act. The question is how. Gulf Specimen is sort of a standalone private nonprofit. We would hope maybe we could get waterfronts to adopt it, but if it doesn't, we would certainly not like to be excluded for it. I will say that we have a great deal of success with our octopus exhibits. We had the octopus predict the winner of the Super Bowl last year accurately, and we had lots of people, lots of press coverage, and that sort of thing. We have a very unique project, a unique exhibit. SeaWorld has its Shamu, and the other aquariums have their giant shark Tuttles. We have octopuses, and everybody really loves them. They're extremely intelligent animals. People relate to them, and I think we can help cast Wakulla County in it. So I really need your help in trying to figure it. One more half second. We are also going to be going for a grant to bring a big, take the sea mobile and temporarily turn it into a sea turtle mobile from time to time with a giant leather back on the top.
Thank you, Jack.
And we would like to get your endorsements for that.
Thank you.
The commission. Thank you.
Hugh Taylor to be followed by Doug Kirtley.
Thank you. My name is Hugh Taylor. I live at 1357 Martin Luther King Road, and I would like to apologize. On September 4th, I was here and spoke at Citizens to be Heard. I could not attend the last meeting, and for that I apologize, as I wanted to help set the record straight about Citizens to be Heard, as you misquoted that policy. This is from the tape. Citizens to be heard had to be relevant to county business that pertains to the county commission that is under the guidelines of Citizens to be heard. That's wrong, and I can only speculate as to your motives. It's nowhere in the Citizens to be heard section of the policy, and there are no guidelines, period. I helped write the meeting policy, but I wanted to be sure, so I checked. Here's the total policy. There are no guidelines. On the portion of agenda designated as the Citizens to be Heard 3-minute limit non-discussion by commission, there shall be no debate and no action by the commission. So don't attempt to shut off citizens for specious political reasons at Citizens to be Heard, just because you don't want to hear what citizens have to say. Instead of making comments about non-existent policy and guidelines, you might want to consider commenting on the apparent egregious disregard for the Sunshine Law exhibited by Mr. Moore at that very same meeting. So take the log out of your eye before you comment on the speck in mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Kirtley to be followed by George Weaver.
Doug Kirtley, I'd like to talk about the split of Lot 23 Hartsfield Survey. I'd like to check and see if you all got a letter from me. Anybody didn't get a letter? I know Mr. Moore did because he was there when I dropped him off and we had a good conversation. But this is a supplement to my letter. The letter dated 9/18/12. The subject is State Statute Chapter 177. I consulted with the head of P&Z over in Liberty County, Tony. He also teaches a government law at FSU. He said what a lot of counties did when this statute came out was they implemented an ordinance to allow up to 5 splits under certain circumstances, a little leeway to accommodate purchasers of new parcels and purchasers who are not trying to abuse this system. This allows avoidance of excessive state control and regulation over counties. State control regulation over counties can be excessive to the point of being counterproductive. This is one small step to alleviate that problem. And, so if it's just a matter of an ordinance to help citizens out on a situation like mine, I know P&Z and everybody up here on the board is familiar with my little problem. But, I don't know, if that's a solution. And Mr. Cerno also, in his letter, had a possible solution, which we might be able to look into as well. 2 possible solutions to this little problem. And I know the state statute, it exists, and the attorney's correct in addressing the problem. But I'd like to try and proceed with some sort of a solution to this problem. And that's about it, really.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
George Weaver to be followed by Mike. Timmy? Toomey, sorry.
Thank you, George Weaver, 284 River Plantation Road. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association in River Plantation, and I want to speak about the FEMA zoning. I'm sure many people are concerned about that, but I was charged by a board of directors to write a letter to the commissioners, and each of you received the letter. Again, I'm not saying anything new. You all know this, but we see this as a really radical change for I don't know what reason. Living in River Plantation, we have people living right on the river and right across the road in the river, and we've seen no indication that we're at a higher threat than we were before. At the last major hydraulic event, it's Dennis, and 24 plus inches of rain with Debbie. There's not a single drop of water that got into any habitable space, didn't even threaten, and that's with the 12-foot BFE. And so this notion of going to a 15-foot BFE in these zones, it's just, again, they're very off-put. Again, I know it's a very complicated thing. You have to go through methodologies and various other sort of things, but I just want to make it clear that there are many concerned people, and I'm just representing one small group of those many people. Like I said, we have not had any damage of any sort in what seemed to be a very vulnerable area. FEMA must know this. There's been no claim to FEMA in that area, as far as I know, ever. And so, I've made my point. If there's anything that our community can do to provide data that would be of any help in an appeal, we'd do everything we could. We could even put in some money. I know Lynn sent me a response saying that it's very complex. We might have to come up with a total methodology, do our own 6-year review, lay out new flood maps. That's very daunting. I know I can't do that. I hope that the commission has some way of addressing this and appealing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Toomey, and I apologize for your name, and then you're to be followed by Donna Sanford.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mike Toomey, and it's mispronounced all the time, sir. That's not a problem. My name is Mike Toomey, 444 River Plantation Road. I'd like to supplement George Weaver's comments about the FEMA report. And I'd like to urge you to seek out assistance from the Florida Association of Counties and the Florida League of Cities in trying to approach opposing the FEMA changes. As George said, as you know, the changes are substantial. It changes from 12 feet to 15 feet in our area. As he said, there were no adverse effects from very rare weather events, Dennis and Debbie. At the end of the day, the FEMA map is a result of a computer model that has a myriad of inputs that could be questionable, okay? Just because it comes out with precise results doesn't mean that it's correct. And again, because we've had 2 weather events with very high rain and storm surge and had no adverse effects, it would appear to be wrong for our situation, which would lead you to conclude that it might be wrong for other places in the county. Now, I called, another thing is that I found nothing resembling an economic impact statement in the FEMA documents, okay? So you all know when we go to the statutes and, for changes and agency rules, there are economic impact statements that lay out the cost to consumers, governments. If we have these changes, we're going to see as residential property owners and businesses increase flood and property premiums down the road. That will result in reduced property values. It will ultimately result in this county and the cities having reduced property tax receipts. The problem isn't confined to Wakulla County or Franklin or Jefferson. It seems like the federal government is approaching these studies, taking the smallest counties in the Panhandle on first. They intend to go to Tampa Bay, Broward, Miami-Dade, and the rest of the state, or at least along all the coastal areas. If we're going to have adverse economic impacts here, the others will as well. And I would urge you, and I've spoken to the general counsels today of the Association of Counties and League of Cities, and I'm going to be put in touch with their subject matter experts to seek out, have your staff seek out the assistance of those two organizations to financially back an opposition to this rule now. They have an interest in this. They shouldn't wait, because the methodology will be the same. They shouldn't wait until it confronts them after the government having succeeded in rolling over the smaller counties. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Donna Sanford to be followed by Chris Russell.
Donna Sanford, 1262 Erin Road. I've paid over $6,500 in property taxes this year, and I don't have a paved road, city water, city sewer. I don't have a fire hydrant anywhere near my home. I don't have any children in the school system, but I feel like I've paid my fair share. And I look at Alan Brock, and I get upset, Alan, and we've talked. He does not pay any property taxes, no school taxes, no county taxes, no fire tax, no water management tax, no trash fee, no utility usage fee. He doesn't pay any of that, and you all do. He doesn't pay it because he's not a property owner. And he should not have been elected to District 1, according to the 1099 miscellaneous income reports for 2008 and 9 from United Way. He was living at 116 Kirkland Drive for 2008 and 9, which is in District 3. He has a hard time managing his own finances if you check out his ethics reports, and I don't want him taking our county in the same direction.
Sam, Alan's not going to say anything, but please, don't do that.
Okay.
Please, ma'am.
I will stop there. But he pays no taxes, and taxpayers got up here pleading for him to do something, and he voted against him. But he pays no taxes.
Chris Russell will be followed by Douglas Hammonds.
Before I get up, can I ask you a question before I start? Can I give you something? 'Cause I'm
You can hand us things, yes.
Okay.
Here, Chris, I'll pass it.
You want to look at that before I start?
2 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Is it?
Yeah. 3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. Well, Commissioners, I'm back here on the FEMA flood maps like I was 2 weeks ago. I'm glad to see more people are showing up on it. You can't imagine my dissatisfaction getting Commissioner Art's email Friday night when the home team was winning the game, and he sent me the thing saying that FEMA went ahead and published it in the Code of Federal Regulations, which in essence is starting our clock for the 90-day appeals process. I do know that Congressman Sutherland did submit a letter on September 26th asking Administrator Fugate to stop that. That was after the fact, because that happened on September 21st, which happened to be our same day that we sent our letter out. But But anyway, what I put before you tonight is out of the Code of Federal Regulations. It's 44 CFR Part 66.1 is what I have here. In it talks about the consultation with the local officials, and on that matter, if you'll look at 66.1, please, and A in the last sentence, it talks about the fact that you shall work with your community officials, okay? If you look at B, the sixth word there is shall as well. It's not may, it is that you shall work with your local counties. The point here is, if you go on 66.2, if you look under C, and this is a lot for you to be looking at, trying to follow and listen. The point that matters here, there's a lot of shalls here on this procedure when they're doing these flood elevation maps. I'm not sure they did it. So what I would like to respectfully request is that you will do a FOIA and submit and see what their docket says on this. They're required by 66.3, I believe it is, to have a case file on this and have a docket. Find out what it says, see where our notes are on it, what they've said they met with us, and figure out if they followed what is required. If they did not follow what's required, then let's ask them to go ahead and just set it aside for now. Now, there's probably a lot of good data in there that we're going to need, and we don't need to waste taxpayer dollars doing everything over, but we need to see what's in there first. We just simply need 6 months right now to look at it. It's my belief that we didn't get the notifications they're looking for. The real kicker to me, Dave Edwards, you'll get this as well, is you sat there and asked them about economic impact, and the lady said, no, that's not a consideration. It clearly says, in C number 1 right there, economic impact. It's right there, historical and future. So, yes, it's behind the scenes or it's after the fact, but they should have done it up front. Anyway, I have this highlighted. Anyone that would like for me to stick around afterwards and talk, anybody, about this, how we might be able to beat it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Douglas Hammonds, to be followed by Paul Harvey.
Chris, if you'll stay around, we're going to talk about this at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
If you would, please.
Do you have comments again, or is that?
Possibly.
Okay.
If we call for you to come up, you won't. Yeah.
This one will be pretty short for that other 3 minutes went by in a hurry, but gentlemen, this the criteria for designing these past projects we've talked about is it will in other projects down the road. The topography, the water elevations, and the soil examinations are critical. None of these have been provided to you as a commission properly, whether it be through Pebble Ridge or whether it be through Mr. Thurman or whether it be by the developer. They're not there. You're not going to find what you need to justify this thing. With that said and done, all this again will come up later. The affected property owners have legal counsel, and they also have a professional engineer board pro bono to push this thing further than where it's going now, has gone, for the future of other residents of this county. Thank you for the time that you let us talk, for what good it has done. These property owners are very concerned about themselves as well as other residents of this community. They want the right thing done for the future of this county, and they don't want it to be in the financial situation other counties have gotten in trying to combat certain elements of what's going on right now. I wish to close it with just a simple thing, because it's from the bottom of my heart that I ask of it. There are property owners tied to this property that this whole ordeal from beginning to now has affected, and that's the Boutwell family. Mrs. Boutwell is ill. The stress and strain has been put on her. The investment they've made in their properties and what's supposed to be their retirement, their life to live pleasantly and alone, is affecting her health as well as his. They're under the stress and strain of a daily life. And what's happened with the commission right now is, in a sense, a very despicable act against some very reputable citizens of this county. We will be seeing you and talking to you, addressing you by our correspondence or personal visits, I hope, within the next few days to get to some of the technical stuff that we've ordered tonight, and hope it all works out for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Paul Harvey, to be followed by Janice Deirdre.
Commissioners, y'all pretty well heard what I had to say a while ago, and I'm still against it, and I'll always be against it. I think it's a bad move for the county, and and I'm disappointed in y'all for sticking up with people with deep pockets and not standing up for the public.
Thank you. Denise Gaudry, to be followed by Chuck Robinson, our last speaker. Denise? Denise? Not seeing Denise. Chuck Robinson?
Thank you, Chairman. And this was an announcement that I didn't have time to get into the announcement section, so if you bear with me. Ladies and gentlemen here and watching at home, the Wakulla County Chamber of Commerce and the Wakulla News would like to invite you to our biennial Chamber Political Forum on Tuesday, October 9th at 6 p.m. at the Wakulla Senior Center. The forum provides the citizens of Wakulla County an opportunity to meet and listen to the candidates who are running for office in each of the local Wakulla County races. The questions posed to the candidates have come from our citizens themselves. In fact, anyone who would like to ask a question may still go to the special website we have set up at www.wakullachamberforum.com. That's www.wakullachamberforum.com. But you must hurry, as the deadline for accepting questions will be tomorrow, October 2nd at midnight. Once again, the forum will be on Tuesday, October 9th at 6 p.m. at the Wakulla Senior Center. Hope to see you then.
Thank you very much. That concludes the citizens to be heard. Briefly, I know we're not really supposed to address these things, but Ms. Sanford and I have spoken many times in the past. I disagree strongly with everything she says, and we've talked about that, but, you know, we give people the opportunity to speak, and I try very hard to recognize people's free speech. Up next this evening is going to be Mr. Bill Williams. He's going to be giving the announcement that we move to proceed general business. J.B. Edwards asked for Bill to speak this evening, and he's going to update us on the Restore Act.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. I had the privilege to speak a few weeks ago, and at that time I was the current president of the Florida Association of Counties, and I appreciate the warm reception you gave us. I did step down from that role because of doing some of the private sector work when I finished my term. I'm currently elected in Gulf County until November, and the current chair there, but it wouldn't preclude me from helping in this county. I've had the opportunity to work with your staff. They're great folks. We're basically trying to get into an organizational framework, and I think David's going to present those findings, but basically what we're trying to do, and mirror imaging some of the work that we've been doing in other counties, of bringing all of your stakeholders together. There were a lot of questions that were asked tonight, and David asked a question of how do we get the projects into the process. That's basically my goal. My goal is to work with the federal components, the state components, educate this board, educate the constituents, and set up a formal framework upon your approval so that we can move projects more efficiently and effectively through the process. And, you know, for example, today Heather with council was talking about some of the things that are happening at the federal level where there's some stalling going on between BP and the Justice Department. That's very true. And it's kind of one step further in that there's a move by the federal government to move this into more of a NERDA project to look at some of these dollars. So they're kind of making an end run on the Restore Act that was signed into law. That's a bad thing. We just went all the flying. The chairman and I were in Washington and working with, for all of our counties and certainly for the other states. And we were effective in getting the Restore Act passed with Congressman Sutherland and Senator Nelson driving that train. But I think the key issue here is looking at two components. And David, if you want to guide me in how you want to walk through it, what I'd like to do and present, and he's going to bring it through a formal status with the commission. But my objective is to meet with your citizens on a weekly basis and basically do what we're doing in kind of Gulf County. We're meeting, we're going through structure, we're going through organization, we're coming through rules of the road, so we have environmental groups, we have the business community, we have the TDCs, the colleges, etc. So we can answer those questions on how do I have a project that merits into the strategic plan or to the infrastructure projects that you have for Wakulla County. So I think the matter of tonight is basically twofold. The first one is the consortium, and I'll update you a little bit on that. We had a meeting on the 23rd of this past month in St. Pete with all 23 counties. We're in the process of working with the Florida Association of Counties, with the 8 counties and with the 15 counties to basically have one consortium. There's a federal law component of each county has to have a representative. obviously staying together is a big deal. And so we're working toward that, and you have that action before you tonight as well. There are some components that I'll advise this board on, from funding formulas and things that we're looking at in the oyster and the seafood industry that are very, very important to you and your community as well as mine. So I'll be bringing that data to you as well. The second recommendation that I've had with David and staff is to basically look at your organizational structure and your teamwork of how you're going to appoint your committee members. And my job is that simply of a facilitator and an educator. I'll bring these folks together. We'll put Wakulla in the best position to basically take the projects, to understand, number one, the law, understand how it works within the different components and pots. Putting your project in will be the second component, taking your infrastructure plan that you were working on tonight, and then the third piece will be to advocate this within Tallahassee and D.C., because that's when the real game's on, because it goes back to, are we going to be able to get the money, and how to go about it, so you can protect your first part of the money as it goes. And David, is there anything else you wanted me to address or go
I
through
think
those
that's
issues?
it. We can go ahead and roll into the next agenda item.
Do you want to keep Billy up, Commissioner Williams up here?
Mr. Chairman, is there any questions from the board members? And
well, before we... You sure? Okay.
I can hear from the back.
All right. One of our commissioners is going to take a brief moment. Yeah, okay, we're going to take a, before we move into the Restore Act, and we'll come back to it in just a few minutes, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay? Ben? Everybody could please move back towards your seats. Bill Williams taking the podium again.
I like this microphone.
We're going to have to work on that, because he'll talk all night if you let
That commissioner thing's going to be hard to break.
I don't know, I guess the people are
What we're
still
going to do is, this agenda item has to do with the Gulf Consortium interlocal agreement. This is an agreement that is required for us to use for the Florida Association of Counties to actually be if you may, a air traffic controller for the funds that are going to be allocated and projects that we will want to apply for in the competitive pot. There are 5 pots of money. First pot is a 35% pot. That comes to Wakulla County, or comes to Wakulla County via projects. The second pot is a competitive state fund that is just that competitive pots. Now, we're part of that pot. We get 75% of that, and when I say we, that's the 8 counties. The 8 counties from here to Escambia, we get that 75% of that share, but that's competitive projects, and that's primarily going to be some regional type things, like some of the oyster relays, some other regional impacts, that projects that we could have. So the purpose of the consortium is on the local agreement is with FAC is us to join this consortium. This allows us to participate in that second pot of money, which is a
Third pot number 3.
there is a third pot.
There are 4 pots of money, and the numbers, people move them around.
Yeah, there are 3, 4, 5. That's 4 pots.
In the
only ones
agenda,
we're worried
it
about
has
are
pot number
2 of
3.
them right now. And I'm not sure this third pot of money.
It will be. In fact, the key issue is that the competition that we're speaking of is more, as I mentioned in the first meeting, with Alabama, Mississippi, etc. So you will see a lot of multi-county projects, but this consortium will do a lot of things, from accountability and transparency. When the federal rules are published, there's going to be some involvement with that, and obviously with your local council, but also with the association. We're helping guide that. And I'm not the president anymore, but it is an important thing. There are some issues that we're working through on funding formulas and how things break out in that 75-25, but those are details that we can work out. But the fact that we've gotten here with the 8 counties staying together is a tribute to what we can do in unity, and I think the second component of it is trying to work to 15 in the process. There is a way out of this agreement if Wakulla County was not happy, but I can tell you that I think it's imperative that the counties stick together.
I make a motion to approve the resolution approving the interlocal agreement relating to establishment of the Gulf Consortium and admitting Wakulla County as a member of the Gulf Consortium. But I got one change. I'd rather have our appointee to this consortium be the county administrator rather than the chairman, not you personally.
Second.
I'd like to have something that spans the years, because chairmen come and go year after year.
Well, no worries. No.
I mean, even if Alan wins, there's going to be a different chairman next year. So I think instead of switching the representative of the county every year, if we put David as, assumably he's going to be here for a while.
We have a motion and a second. We have some cards. I want to talk on two things real quick.
Don't forget you, Alan.
I know nothing gets me. I want to say that currently all the appointments to this consortium are political, so they're county commissioners from the
The
other
only
counties.
smart ones in.
Okay. And the recommendation I was going to make was that it be an appointment by the chairman versus the chairman, so that whoever, like for now, I would continue to be me. But then after this moves forward, if I anticipate getting reelected, but if I don't get reelected, we would probably move toward actually appointing you,
Well,
or David.
If you to go along with it, I just assume us appoint the county administrator. We are a charter county, and he's there for day-to-day stuff, and hopefully we'll be there for the long run.
There were some concerns I know expressed about Sunshine. I don't know Heather, are there any concerns about Sunshine with David being the appointment? No?
If he's talking to himself?
If he's talking to himself.
What I
He
wanted,
does that a lot now, right now.
what I wanted to point out is that you would be appointing a primary member and an alternate.
I
So
think the chairman would be the alternate then in my...
Or the chairman's designee. So let's say Mike's chairman, but he can't travel because of he has to be at school. There needs to be somebody.
But I think it maybe should be another board member, I guess.
Another commissioner, yeah.
That way we know it's at least going to be one of them.
Now, the alternates attend the meetings?
Yeah, with the federal law only, and council can correct me, but the federal law talks about having at least one representative from the counties as you come through, and it doesn't really clarify an alternate or a chair or a county manager. I think that's this board's decision, but it talks about you have to have representation. So I think there's flexibility. We can follow up for you, but I think that there's flexibility with that. But the consortium has to have one representative from each county.
And the alternate would vote in the event that the primary member could not be there. They would never be voting at the same time.
I understand, but I'd like to have the alternate attending every time so they're up to speed if the primary can't.
When you say at least one, does that mean some counties may have 10 representatives?
No, it's going to be a one. It's a minimum. It's basically a total of one, but it says it has to have at a minimum one, but it will not be larger than that. And the way they were talking about pots, what I call pot 2 and pot 3, that consortium will continue, but in pot 2 you will be dealing with, as he indicated, with the governor, the different agencies, and the governor will appoint his folks there as well, and you'll have a representative from each of the affected counties. So I applaud what FAC is doing, and again, sort of working through it. But to get one county together is very challenging. To get 8, we have an advantage because the 8 counties have worked together. But we're bringing 15 in now. But they're doing rounds throughout the counties, educating, getting them up so they understand it.
Why didn't it say? I mean, logic tells me, why didn't it say maximum of 1? I mean, if you say minimum of 1, then
it just says representative of at least 1. But it will be 1. I hear you, but it was just language and crafting as it comes through. And the consortium, we're following the federal law side to it. FAC, the main objective that I think the Association of Counties wants to do is that there's some friction, and that I mentioned that in the last meeting, within the state and the counties. Our state is the only state where money flows directly back to the county commission. That being said, we need the governor, we need the agency, so we're not bogged down in permitting, et cetera, and in that competitive pot. But David is correct. We will see multi-county projects being worked on heavily in Pot 2 and in Pot 3, because that's how we're going to be competitive and work with the agencies, our own agencies with the state, but how we take this to the next level and lobby for federal projects.
Do you have any estimate of over what period of time this consortium may be functioning?
Certainly with the I mean, this is going to be a multi-year scenario. As this unfolds and when the Department of Justice and BP come to some settlement, it will take years to walk through all of this. And by federal law, it will stay in existence until that is done. There's no reoccurring dollars post that, so it will sunset at the end of that period. But by the term that we're continuing to go with dollars and coming through, that consortium will need to stay in effect.
Yeah, because I was envisioning it as pretty long in duration was my leaning toward what Randy suggested of having more continuity probably if you had a a staff person, but
That's certainly the wishes of your board. I don't think, and council correct me, but I don't think there's anything that precludes the commission saying, Alan is correct, that it has been primarily commissioners being appointed. But I don't think there's anything in the federal law that says, it just says representative. I mean, that could be anybody this board so chooses.
But he'll have the same powers. If there's a vote, he's the same vote as the chairman of the Escambia County or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Good, give him hell, David.
Well, I'll let you know, I've attended all the Restore Act meetings, save the St. Pete meeting, the last one, with Alan as his alternate, so I am up to speed for all of that.
Okay, we have one citizen to speak, Jack Redlow.
So it's my understanding that we will not be represented on this committee, and I was told this just a little while ago. And the reasons are not totally clear.
I think that's the next agenda item.
That's the next agenda
I
item.
think you may want to speak on the next item.
But what was I on?
This is in a local agreement. The next item is the Restore Act Committee.
I can move you to that one, or do you want, okay.
Move me to that one.
Cool. I'll fix it. All right, back to this. Okay, excellent. Are there any further discussion from our board?
Hold, we still don't have an alternate. If
Oh, I think
the
the
motion has been to move the county administrator into the...
political appointee by the chair.
And basically, my recommendation would be the chairman then to be the alternate.
That's what I...
Chairman or the chair's
Or the
designee.
chair's commission designee, and the designee needs to be a commissioner, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. We're going to get to that later. There's another committee, Jerry. I'm excited for you to be on. All right. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 13, the Restore Act Committee. We have a lot of people here for this tonight.
Yes, this committee is a local Wakulla County committee. Each one of the 8 counties are setting up similar type advisory committees. These are advisory committees to the Board of Commissioners. They will bring to you projects that they feel are need to be funded through the Restore Act. They'll bring those up for your approval or denial. Also, they'll be charged with oversight of, as far as just an overview as to how the money is being spent, so that we can make sure that we're fully and completely transparent. They'll be in charge of schedules, etc. This will be a working committee. There'll be a set time for the committee to meet each week. And right now we're looking at Tuesday at 5 p.m. And there's an application, as you can see, of the committee members. There is Wakulla County Board of County Commissioners will have one commissioner selected. The City of Sopchoppy will select someone from the City of Sopchoppy Commission. City of St. Mark's, Panacea Waterfronts will have selected a member to be on this. Shell Point, Oyster Bay, and Spring Creek communities collectively will have one person selected between the 3 to be represented on the committee. The Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Council, Tourist Development Council member will be selected by the TDC, County School Board of Education, TCC, Wakulla Campus, they will have a selection. Fishing industry, that will be, we'll take applications for that, and we'll bring back recommendations to the board for that. That'll be a board appointment. Natural Resources, the same there. And the citizen, Wakulla County citizen at large will be a board appointment as well.
David, it says Wakulla County to be selected by the board. That doesn't mean it needs to be one of us, does it?
No. The Wakulla commissioner, yes, it needs to be one of you guys. But the fishing industry, there'll be one commissioner on the board. Unless you guys want to change that up, that's up to you.
What do you mean? On CRTPA.
Okay. Not pointing elbows.
Probably Jerry. I thought it should be Jerry. That's his district.
Well,
I'll take that appointment.
Okay.
You need the motion to move ahead?
Need a motion?
So I make a motion to approve the schedule and advertise public hearing to consider adopting ordinance establishing the Restore Act Advisory Committee.
Second. We have a motion and a second. We have two citizens to speak. First up, Jack Rudlow.
When can people apply, for example, for these ones selected by the board through the application process?
We're going to immediately, just as soon as we're going to gather tomorrow, Cherie and Jessica and I, we've got an application that's in your agenda item here. We're going to send that application out to all the folks that are represented on here. We're going to advertise for the ones that aren't tied to an organization. We'll advertise that, and or if you guys or anyone else is listening out there would like to, that fits some of this, the fishing, the natural resources, and the Wakulla citizen at large, we'll be sending out information. You can contact us at the BoCC office, and we'll be glad to send you the application.
I'm sorry, Jay. Do you have what?
One thing, first we have to have the public hearing and adopt the ordinance, which is not, this is an ordinance, has to be advertised, so that'll be coming back probably the
15th. No?
Can you make the 15th? Either the 15th or the meeting after that, or the 5th.
And then we'll appoint the people at that meeting also?
You can, yes.
Yeah, that's the plan.
So the first meeting in November, we'll be appointing everyone.
We're still going to roll with
what I'm getting to, just maybe answer some people's questions. Do you have an idea of a process in mind of how we're going to select these? There's at least 4 people that we are going to look at applications for and fill positions. Do you have an idea of how we want to do that? Because I'm sure Jack will apply for one of them, for example.
It's attachment 2.
I see the application, but...
That's the application. All right, go down into the application. What we're going to ask you for is we'll check the following positions that you'd like to fill out, you'd like to fill. We've added in there the Shell Point, Oyster Bay, Spring Creek communities. Unless those communities can come together and select someone, we'll do that process. We'll provide your experience and interest or elements of personal and or work history that would qualify them for this appointment. This is project related. Provide any education, degrees, etc. related to this matter. Provide brief statement of why you would like to serve on this committee and how your background makes you the best candidate. Serving on this committee requires that you file a financial disclosure annually with the Ethics Commission, and it asks about that. And that's the biggest thing, that the criteria is we need people that are involved in the community, that understand projects and understand the economy of the community, but also they're not tied directly to, they couldn't benefit directly from something they'll be voting on. Okay, they're going to be indirect, but not direct. Okay, that's the criteria.
But because of the urgency of it, David, maybe what Randy's getting to is, if you have 20 or 30 people apply in each category, I don't know how many you will have, but who's going to narrow that down? Is that going to be a committee that you're going to appoint?
That'll be a committee that we'll draft up here.
That was my question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You didn't need to talk about all that other stuff.
I'm sorry. Well, just in case.
Well,
I misunderstood it.
Well, a committee will be making recommendations to the board for who to appoint.
That's right.
You'll be organizing the committee.
I'll be organizing the committee, yes.
And I think the point, okay, and Jack's about to talk. I think the point Jack's going to talk, we may get clarification of this, is just the direct, we'll hear what Jack says.
Okay. Well, you said that one of the criteria is understanding the economy of Wakulla County. Mr. Moore said to me some time ago, why did you locate your business in a residential area one time? Well, let me tell you, when I moved to Panacea, there was no water, there was no public area water system, there were no paved roads, there was no infrastructure whatsoever. There were just some bench of sand roads and some fish houses. That's what I moved into, and I have been at this thing for 50 years. I started it in 1962. I have watched businesses, developers, real estate people crumble and fall and blow away, and we have remained. We have brought the fishing industry up. We started the jellyfish industry, which is a multi-million-dollar business in Apalachicola and other areas, and it's been working here as well. I started the rock shrimp business back in the 70s. We have developed anti-cancer drugs, which are being used in pharmaceutical areas. We have over 1,300 scientific educational institutions that we supply marine life, and we have 250 regional schools that bus their groups into it. I would say that I would stand a qualification of understanding the economy and what we have here. I would like to serve. I still want to go forward with the oysters on trees that at least one commissioner here has opposed vehemently, not violently, sorry, and that sort of thing. I have other things that can be done with aquaculture, having worked with the shrimp farm. I feel I'm going to be among your best candidates and best people. If you push me off the community because of the possibility that Gulf Specimen might benefit from this thing, I think Wakulla County will suffer. I can talk to these people. I can talk to scientific people. I've been asked to consult for Apalachicola in the oyster industry. I would like to serve and would like to help. So I'm going to ask you to really figure some way that we can participate and be a part of this thing and not be excluded. So the question is how and why, and if we're excluded because of our nonprofit educational status, our 501c3. I'd like to hear that from legal counsel saying that that would be illegal or some such thing, and I'd like to hear why and how, and I'd even like to see it in writing.
Okay.
I think.
Thank you. I don't see Chuck. Is Chuck Hess still here? No. Okay, so that was our other citizen who was going to speak on this issue.
I have some questions and...
Okay.
On the application, could we take off industry after natural resources?
Well, and while we're doing this, I just also want to point out real quick, all these meetings will be public meetings with public opportunity for input, and I encourage everyone who, because I think there'll be a lot of interest, because we're talking about $25 million, what it looks like right now, trying to allocate in Wakulla County. I think there'll be a lot of interest from our community, and if you aren't appointed to this committee, make sure you're out there participating, coming and speaking, and getting your voice heard. Commissioner Arts?
Yeah, I'm reading from the agenda item. It says the use and eligible activities for which these funds can be used by Gulf Coast states are restoration and protection of the natural resources, ecosystems, fisheries, marine and wildlife habitats, beaches, and the coastal wetlands of the Gulf Coast region, mitigation of damage to fish, wildlife, and natural resources, implementation of a federally approved marine, coastal, or comprehensive conservation management plan, including fisheries monitoring, workforce development and job creation, improvements to or on state parks located in coastal areas affected by the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, infrastructure projects benefiting the economy or ecological resources, including port infrastructure, coastal flood protection and related infrastructure, planning assistance, and then administrative costs. And I know, when I look at that list, and then I look at this list of proposed representatives, I get a little concerned that it may not be such a good match in some ways. And, for example, there are a few on here that I'm not sure have much maybe to contribute to some of those things. But
which ones are you questioning? Because now's the time to make changes.
Okay, well, I think since it's probably harder to take anybody off, I would like to at least discuss maybe adding some more.
I'll tell you, I'm very hesitant to add more.
Me too.
It's a really large committee. I'm willing to talk about changes. If there's somebody you think shouldn't be on here.
Well, okay.
I think 13 people is a large committee, and we're going to be meeting weekly with alternates. I don't want it to become so cumbersome that people regret their choice to volunteer?
Well, for me personally, and this Wakulla citizen at large is specifically supposed to be somebody with accounting or financial kind of management. I read that correctly, didn't I? Okay. So that's not it. It says committee at large, but then you need to be a financial person.
And Commissioner, if this helps a little bit, and this is certainly the board's decision, but the way that we'll conduct the meetings is going to be a very open format. We want to, the first step will be to work with council and go through these rules of affidavits, confidentiality, trainings, because this will be held under sunshine because it's an advisory board or council to you. But the second part of it is if someone is not selected, for example, one of those seating chairs, they're not going to be precluded from the process. We're going to have an absolute sort of bylaws process and how to bring a project that's critical or we think is important, etc., into that process. So whatever citizens or group that you're thinking might not be, I'll be glad to work with you and make sure those stakeholders are represented, because the key issue, just like the counties and the vote you took earlier about not being parochial and getting lost in a food fight, we certainly can't do it in Wakulla County. It will cause all types of issues. So we want all of those issues vetted up front, and how it ties to your strategic plan and your infrastructure plan, then we'll go through. But if you have any concerns, I'll be glad to reach out to your citizens individually beyond the scope of this.
Well, for example, I personally think we probably need more than one natural resources person. Because there's a big difference between somebody who's like a coastal wetlands botanist and somebody who's a marine fishery expert, and they both may have a lot to contribute. Also, in terms of even who's knowledgeable about the impacts of the dispersants and the oil and so forth on the resources, and what needs to be done about those. I don't know that we even have anybody in our county that's so up on that kind of stuff. And fishing, again, there's a big spectrum between your commercial fishermen and your recreational fishermen and your shellfish. There's a lot of diversity there that I personally would rather see more of, maybe those kind of representatives on the committee, given that the focus is supposed to be on coastal and restoration and the list I read. I also had a question about the Ochlockonee River State Park. Is that considered a coastal park? I don't know. It's sort of close there, but it mentions state park.
It certainly could be qualifying.
And so should we have somebody from the Ochlockonee River State Park on here?
Well, and I think we could probably qualify any of our state parks in the county.
IFAS, our extension office, has asked to be included. When Scott Jackson was here, he was one of the most knowledgeable people about coastline restoration. Now we have, our current agent has a little different perspective, but they've still got the resources of the university, and they would like to be involved.
Well, I think they'll be involved because they'll still have, this committee is not, they're not going to operate in the dark. All they're doing is they'll be getting from resources such as IFAS, such as a state park. They will be getting projects that'll be pushed up to the committee from those folks. So you need to have those resources there to push projects up.
But if most of the people here are leaning toward education, we've got a bunch of education people here, or we've got people who are leaning more toward economic development, then their rankings of the projects may be predisposed toward education or the economic development as opposed to whatever. So, I hear what you're saying. It'll be an open process, but ultimately, if these are the people who are going to be ranking projects, they have their biases and perspectives. And when I read the list of what these projects are supposed to be about and who we have ranking them, it doesn't feel like such a good match to me, and I'm just expressing that and throwing out some other names. We have a hunger team now, the people who have been economically impacted, and our food pantries that are can't even keep up. I mean,
And one of the things that, like, so using the Hunger Team as an example, if the Hunger Team wants to see us prioritize food banks or feeding the many hungry people we have in Wakulla County, what they can do, not being on this committee, is lobby each of these members and not be breaking the
It's actually
sunshine.
better not to be on the committee from that standpoint.
Please remember, this is an advisory committee.
That's right.
It's not like the 2020 committee that was set up that would actually give us the rankings and present it to us, here you are. They can give us what they think, but we just had the Planning Commission unanimously vote for something, and we unanimously didn't vote for it. So just because they recommend it, you know what I'm saying? And
well, I hope, but again, how many projects are there going to be, and is everybody on this board going to take the time to go through the projects?
And we don't,
Well, why not?
and the trick becomes we don't know, because we still don't know how much money we're going to actually receive.
And Commissioner, one thing that I would point out too is that this is, and I hear you about the different stakeholders, but we're going to be meeting weekly. So all the stakeholders that you're identifying, if they're feeling like that voice is not heard, the other part of what I'm going to provide for you is direct communications here. So we won't go 2 months and 3 months before something comes back before this board. You'll have the ability to right the ship if you feel like some of those folks aren't being represented. I think, and I concur with David's recommendation on the size of this board, we limited ours in Gulf County to 12, only for the reason that, not that I can encompass all of the stakeholders, but it's not a manageable group. But that is by no means to exclude. My job will be working with the cities, and that will not just be there in the meeting. I'll have the ability to interface and bring that information back to you. So what I would ask maybe is that you trust it as it goes along, and then if it doesn't feel it, you'll have the ability to take it here and give me new direction.
David, I want to butt in real quick while I got a chance. You said that members of this committee could not benefit from any projects they suggested. One of the members is the economic.
They cannot vote on it. That's right.
One of the members is on the Economic Development Council. Obviously, they're going to be one.
Well, there may be some if they are in business.
One of the members is Wakulla County. So let's say we decide to put in the wastewater system that we've talked about using this money to go towards. The county's directly benefiting from that, but you as an individual would not.
What if I owned one lot in Wakulla Gardens, and would that put me at a conflict of interest?
No, that's an indirect. That's an indirect.
Well, I mean, it depends on what the project is that you're voting on.
And again,
but under state voting laws, or under the state ethics code, if you're going to be receive a direct financial gain or loss as a result of your vote, you have to abstain.
But that does not apply to an advisory committee, right?
It does.
It does.
It does, even to an advisory committee.
Yes.
It does.
So any of these people that were on here, let's take TCC Wakulla Campus, for example. They can't suggest any projects that's going to benefit TCC.
They can, but they can't vote on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Nor on an advisory committee, nor can they basically lobby their own agenda.
So they couldn't lobby their own agenda?
They can.
They can't.
You could submit
projects.
projects.
At the meeting, they couldn't lobby individual committee members, but they can at the meeting. They can present their project at the meeting. But
They just can't vote
individually.
But just, obviously Panacea Waterfronts is going to want something for the Panacea Waterfront.
That's right.
But they can't vote to support their own project?
That's correct.
Probably correct.
Okay. I just assume not have a committee at all, but I guess we have to have a committee, so.
Yeah, the federal act is pretty clear that there's going to be an opportunity for wide public input on these projects from citizens, business, and nonprofits.
Gary just made a good point. Can we appoint David as the Wakulla County Board of County Commissioner?
No, I do not want to do that.
And we don't want to
that severely limits my ability to be able to talk to other committee members that may have questions about projects.
Yeah, okay.
But absolutely, you could appoint him.
Okay, go ahead and do what you want to do, because you're my boss.
I'm fine with it.
No, and then,
As well as you guys.
and the other point is, even though there's supposed to be a coastal emphasis, whenever we start listing our municipalities and our waterfront communities or whatever, then it's like, there's nobody from Crawfordville, there's nobody from Wakulla Gardens, because they aren't, even though those are population centers, we don't have anybody.
I think basically the rules say that if your county touches the coast, then your entire county is available for any of these resources.
That's the beauty of this legislation, Commissioner, that it has the ability to both touch the environmental community and the economic community. And it is a county-specific issue. It's going to be in this board's decision of that 35% pot that he talked about, of how those dollars will be spent. How we set the priorities in pots 2 and 3 and how we move up is a different sort of gamemanship, but it is an absolute county perspective issue. This is the way that I would suggest is linking to your vision, to your strategic plan. If it's a downtown merchant or a fisherman on the coast, I mean, they all have the ability to bring this information in, but it is a Wakulla County issue, not just a territorial issue.
Well, and we've had people ask to have Wakulla Gardens represented. And they're probably forming, or possibly forming a homeowners type association or whatever.
Tim and there, when he put Smith Creek in that,
Okay, I think this board is, I think we have a really good committee. I will invite everyone in the community who wants to be involved to please attend these meetings. Be grateful, if you don't make it on the committee, that you have the ability to lobby and you aren't required to attend weekly meetings. You can show up to a few and then come back in the end.
Speech out.
Well, I want the best of the best to apply. This is going to be a great opportunity for you I made a statement earlier today. This is going to revolutionize Wakulla County. It's going to improve our economy and our environment, and it's going to help the entire region get to the point where we should have been in the past.
Absolutely.
There's not many open seats that the public can apply for. I mean, you know, there's not.
That's just the way it is.
That's Republican form of
It's
government.
the way it's set up, being set up.
So I think we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as item number 14, infrastructure plan, this item requests board acceptance and approval of the proposed Wakulla County infrastructure plan. Is it okay?
Almost good.
Staff requests that the board accept and review this document and approve staff to prepare an agenda item for October 15 board meeting for discussion, comments, and directions to staff finalizing the document no later than October 30. What this document is for is, I've got a few things I want to read off here. The proposed infrastructure plan attempts to provide a comprehensive document and approach to short-term and long-term planning for capital projects throughout the county. The goal of the proposed infrastructure plan is to help focus staff and resources on the projects most needed and those established as priorities for the county and citizens. The proposed infrastructure plan began by taking into account all major county-owned and operated recreational parks, lands, and trails, as well as major arterial roads, intersections, bridges, and sidewalks. Each project was evaluated for needed improvements, new construction, potential uses, ADA compliance, improvements, rehabilitation. Other issues included health and safety aspects from our citizens, visitors, and environment. Economic development, workforce development, and future education needs played a major role. Many of these projects, properties have been addressed through workshops, citizen input, and resolutions. A lot of these projects you've already seen, like the Capital to Sea Trail, the OBBT. It's a regurgitation of those, but it puts it into one document. These recommended projects will benefit all Wakulla County citizens, visitors, and the local economy and environment by planning and providing for such things as needed new and improved sewer, stormwater management systems, a priority for this county for the safety of its citizens and service. Improved parks and recreational experiences with its youth recreation, water, fishing, recreation, biking, day biking, beach goers, sightseeing, etc. Improved traffic flow along 319 corridor by aligning and improving intersections at major highway traffic points, providing for safe sidewalks for our seniors and children. The City of St. Mark's and Sopchoppy and Panacea waterfronts will be provided input on several projects, and they will be providing more. City of Sopchoppy is yet to bring anything forward, but I've talked to Jackie about that, and they're working on that. St. Mark's, we've received 6 projects to date that we would put in the books. We recognize that this infrastructure plan is not inclusive of all projects or county needs, but is a start in identifying and collecting into one comprehensive infrastructure plan those projects that serve the needs of all the county residents and visitors.
Move to accept the proposed document for review and approve staff to prepare an agenda item for the October 15th board meeting for discussion, comment, and finalization of the document.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Are there any citizens' cards? No citizens' cards. Discussion from the board.
I talked to Dave today about this. Of course, this is not a final thing.
No, it's not a final. We made one round of edits. Some of the edits are in there, but some of them they were not able to do it. So we thought instead of we'd wait and get everyone's comments, and then we'll do one massive edit and finish the thing off. It'll be used, this document will not only be used for the Restore Act, but it's also going to be used to update we're going to use it to update our capital, our CIP, as far as our comp plan. So it's a multi-faceted, as well as we're going to use this to be able to get, when we go speak to the legislature, we're going to be able to break out projects and say, here's what we want to get funded, and it's presented in a professional manner, and we all understand what we've got now, versus somebody thinks we got this project over here and somebody thinks we're doing this project over here. This lays it all out in one comprehensive book.
Just so I understand the timeline, if we have any suggestions or things we'd like to see added or changed in here, when do you need the update?
We need that update just as soon as possible, so before the next meeting. And we didn't have a lot of time either, so we're operating on a short time period.
I would encourage you to talk to the local mitigation board. I don't know if that's even in effect, but they also have a list of capital projects related to hurricane mitigation, flood mitigation, stuff like that. I used to be on that. I don't know if they meet anymore or not, but
yes,
they have their own list.
Yes, they do. I've talked to Scott. Now I'll circle around with Scott on that. Scott Nelson.
Well, and I know one of the things I'd like to see us try and do, I talked about earlier today with Shree, was just talking about trying to do some sort of public access to the Wakulla River. So there might be a swimming park area, because I know I've had several citizens ask for that over time.
The idea of 6 lanes in each direction along
that's part of the edit you got to take out. Brandy's already caught that.
And 3 lanes in each direction on Ivan Church Road.
That's all a part of the edits. We've already caught that. So
they might not appreciate it.
We've already caught that. We've got some verbiage we're going to add into each one of them, and we've also got funding types. Some of these projects will be funded by Restore, some will not, but we'll identify those areas of possible potential funding so that we can, when we're talking to folks, we can go after, they understand where it fits as far as legislative, etc.
And I would review the roads that have already been approved to be paved. Like I told her, there's no county roads on here like Cooperwood.
Right, and we've got to do that. That's a good point. Yes, sir.
Sewer.
Paving matrix.
Sewer plant up.
Sewer plant is in there. It's in the back. It will be. That's something that was left out of the first version. It should be in the back, but if it's not, we'll put it in. That's to be added in. Am I right, Kelsey? It's there.
And we could
think of a table in the back.
We could think of a million things to put in, like Lake Ellen sewer.
That's right. And to realize this is an evolving document. Hopefully, as over time, as we finish projects, they come out of the book and we add new ones in. The whole purpose of it is to get it to where, because one of the things I saw when I first came here was, what are the projects we're going to be doing? And it was, whoever you asked, that's what projects we were doing. So this puts it into one document. This is it, and this is our priorities. Now we can go and we can talk and we can speak intelligently, and we look like we know what we're doing when we're laying out these projects.
But we still, for our legislative thing, we have to pick our number one priority.
That's right.
Out of these priorities.
That's right.
I think it was your.
And I would encourage you to pick the sewer plant as your but that's another discussion for another day.
And I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to look through this, but I'm hearing two things. Is this supposed to be a comprehensive list, or is this supposed to be top priorities, or something that does
This is a comprehensive list, and out of this we will prioritize what we can do this year. I'm realizing you can't do. There's no sense in. You got to pick out like 5 top things we want to do this year.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and we'll try and have any updates to you by the end of the week.
Thank you very much.
Next up on our agenda this evening is requesting board approval of the roadway resurfacing projects for Spring Creek Highway, Ocklawaha Street to High Drive and Emmett Whaley Road.
I move that we approve the FDOT roadway improvement agreements for Spring Creek Highway, Emmett Whaley Road, and Ocklawaha Street and High Drive. Approve the Preble Rish task orders for all three projects, and approve for staff to advertise an ITB for all three
We have a
projects.
motion. Do we have a second?
Second, I got some questions for Alan.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any cards, Katie? No more cards this evening? That's good news. Mr. Wise?
Alan, the 50-foot survey cross-sections, are those required by DOT now to get a scrap project?
Actually,
The reason I'm asking is if it's just a simple resurface, but is this going to be wide like Ravenville Road was, or is it just going to be a resurface?
we're resurfacing, or proposing to resurface Ocklawaha Street and High Drive. Emmett Whaley and Spring Creek will have widening associated with it. To answer your question, 50 foot is required in the curves and in critical areas, and we'll go out with the surveyor and identify those critical areas prior to the actual survey being performed.
There is going to be no milling on Spring Creek Highway, right?
At this time, we're not proposing milling anywhere.
You were around when we
Light
repaved it.
construction, but that was a terrible construction.
12 years ago, it got repaved, and see the conditions it is now, because they milled it down too low. I was just asking because of y'all's engineering fee being what it is, what all's involved in it, and I assume that these scrap projects have a certain amount of money set aside for engineering.
Yes, they do. And we treat these projects as if it is a DOT project. We go through and we look at the clear zone issues, we look at striping issues, we look at cross slope correction, curve widening. I mean, we run through the 3R list just as if it's a DOT project.
Talk to David, but I'd like us to look specifically on Ocklawaha Street if we have money left over to repave Cedar, which goes to the hog barn, and maybe do some parking of some sort at the park, the pavilion there, if there's a way to work that in there.
Do we have enough right-of-way on Ocklawaha to be able to put a bike lane?
This program won't pay for parking.
Paved shoulder, we'll put a paved shoulder.
It could potentially pay for.
We've got as part of this, we've got another grant that we're going to be pursuing for that as well.
For the bike lane?
We got to see our
Sidewalks.
Right.
Yeah, we got, Brandon helped us out with
And
some
to answer your question, while we're there, we're getting needed survey for whatever we might need.
Okay.
Well, I thought we were routinely doing a bike lane on all these road projects.
And
Is that-
Emmett Whaley and those, Ocklawaha Street we've got a sidewalk plan for that.
What's that? Spring Creek Highway, is it going to have a paved shoulder?
It is proposed to have a paved
Like
shoulder.
Raywinkle?
Like Raywinkle.
Paved shoulders, not a bike lane.
It depends on the funding of the project, if it'll pay for widening or not, and if it pays for widening, then we certainly look at not only travel lane widening, but also the paved shoulder, because of its multi-use abilities.
Drainage also?
Drainage also.
Something you might want to remember, we went through this, when the refuge burns on Spring Creek Highway, they burn their property, I think it's caught the plastic culverts on fire a couple of times, so he can tell you about it.
I'll certainly make a note of that.
I have a question about the Preble Rish charge for the Ocklawaha Street and High Drive. And just looking at, your fee is roughly 10%, roughly, of the cost of the Spring Creek Highway and the Emmett Whaley project. But then for Ocklawaha and High Street, it's proportionally higher. It's more like 15 or something percent. So I'm just asking.
The more urban areas require a little bit more of a and I use that term relatively loosely on those two projects, but you have more driveways, more side drains, more culverts, things like that. It increases the cost of survey, and then it also increases the cost of other things that you have to look at from a roadside design standpoint.
Okay.
Okay.
Who does your surveying?
For these, Edwin Brown.
Local survey.
More job.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank Commissioner Stewart for getting these up for us, though, and moving this funding forward, so thank you.
Hopefully before November 6th, we'll see some pavers.
That's why, that's my birthday, you know, that's why you said that?
Yeah.
For your birthday. There's a lot of things we'd like to see before your birthday this year. Commissioner Merritt, talking about your birthday, it looks like it's your item up on the agenda next. You have an item on here to request board approval to schedule and advertise a public hearing to consider an ordinance amending section 2.065 of the county code regarding non-interference.
Have you all read this?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and make the motion then to approve the schedule and advertise a public hearing to consider an ordinance amending section 2.065 of the county code regarding commissioner non-interference.
We have a motion and a second. Any further?
I'd like to read it if I could. I know this probably doesn't blow y'all's mind, but just very briefly, and why. No member of the board shall attend meetings of county employees or the county administrator unless requested or authorized by affected employees. We can't just walk into a meeting that David's having with Heather or Louie and sit down and stick our nose in it. No member of the board shall utilize or examine employee offices, workstations, computer, or other equipment unless authorized by the affected employee or the county administrator. This should be pretty self-evident, but...
Can you take pictures?
Well, I'll get to that. No member of the board shall allow or accompany any person not currently employed by the county into county employees' offices unless authorized by the affected employee or county administrator. We don't want to make it too hard. If they don't have a problem with me bringing my buddy into Katie's office, that's fine, but I can't force it and say, I'm having a meeting with you and I'm bringing this person with me as my advisor. And due to employee time involved in processing public records, no member of the board shall make any request for public records on behalf of or with the intent or purpose of providing such records to third parties. Rather, such third parties must file such requests on their own. I can't go request public records and then give it to somebody else. That's clearly, no member of the board shall attempt to coerce or influence employee decisions or actions as part of a job responsibility. That should be self-evident. No member of the board shall delegate authority to any person to act on their behalf with respect to matters involving county employees. I can't tell my buddy to go tell Summer to do something because I said so. No, I got to go do it. No member of the board shall participate or interfere in daily operations of any county employee. That should be self-evident. But I talked to Charlie, and he said sometimes commissioners want to ride with them a couple days and see what they do. That's fine. That's not interfering with day-to-day operations. No member of the board shall attempt to prioritize staff duties and responsibilities. You can't just call Summer and say, push my person's thing to the top of the list because I want it done. Can't do that. This is a good one here. Any member of the board seeking to file a complaint with any county department for a violation of the county code must do so openly. Board members may not file complaints anonymously. And I think that kind of helps us out too. I've had people say, hey, my neighbor's doing something I don't like, I want you to go complain about it. And, I can't do that anymore. I got to put my name on the complaint, or I got to put their name on the complaint.
You been doing that?
No.
I don't think...
But, I don't think we as public officials should be able to be anonymous when I'm complaining about somebody that's going to get fined or get in trouble.
I don't think... We'll have to double check. Does code enforcement doesn't require someone to... I think you're allowed to anonymously complain to code enforcement.
Yeah. But not us. The commissioners can't. But if you can tell that citizen you want to complain anonymously, you call and complain anonymously.
Okay.
I can't complain anonymously.
Okay, that's why I was just making sure.
Yes. No member of the board shall direct staff to prepare any agenda item for inclusion in the agenda of the meeting. In other words, we got to do our own work. No member of the board shall interfere with the county administrator's decision to hire or fire any employee under his direct supervision. Here's another good one. Board members may only make requests for assistance from employees or requests for information from employees if their information falls within the scope of the employee's designated job duties. In the event such requests will require extensive use of employee resources and extraordinary amount of time, estimated to be more than 1 hour, or otherwise interfere with the daily operations of the county, the request must be made to the county administrator. If I ask Katie to go make a few copies, that's fine. If I ask Katie to go pull all the permits from 1993 and alphabetize them, that's not fine. And the other one's just something Heather put in there.
That's not important.
Some legal stuff.
I second your motion.
We have a motion and a second. No citizen cards to be filed. Are there any further discussion from the board?
already did. I already seconded it.
No, we've got double seconding,
Good, I like that.
so it looks like it's going to pass. Any other comments? Hearing no other comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Well done.
Good job.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ellis, you have two items up this evening.
Yeah, the first is related to the presentation you heard from Knight Energy, and I move that we direct staff to collect and provide preliminary facility information, which is what would be needed on this form, that they provide that to Knight Energy and schedule free audits for Knight Energy for, I would like to see all county-owned facilities, and then if we get a proposal back from them, present that proposal to the board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passed unanimously.
Thank
Tab number 19, energy saving programs.
Right, and this is trying to get at the issue of how do we find money to pay for some of these things. So, Katie, if you would put the one that says greening the bottom line up there. Where are, not that, yeah. This is in your, what I gave you on the thumb drive. Okay. There's a model that I really like, which are often just called revolving or green revolving funds or revolving loan funds. And there are counties, local governments who use these, but they're usually directed toward community organizations and businesses. And so I'm focusing on the ones that have been used in universities. I'm going to go to page 29 first. 29 in there. Because I think it's a nice model for what we could do in our county. And this is a summary. It was a study that was done of these in universities. And basically, now I'm not going to be able to, sorry. Okay, what they found is that there were 52 schools that they looked at who had these kind of loan programs. And they range from as little as $5,000 in the loan fund to a couple of $1 million. The median size of the funds was $170,000. And these schools all allow departments within the schools to request some money from the loan fund, which can be used for energy efficiency projects. Okay. Actually, I know you're on 29. Why don't you go to 43 next, please? Okay, and this is an example of some of the projects. The very first one is they requested a little over $3,000 to put energy saving software on 500 computers, and their expected savings per year was $49,000. The next one is they replaced shower heads with low-flow shower heads. There was one to trade out incandescent bulbs. There was one to insulate water pipes. Here is one to replace T12 fluorescent bulbs with T8 bulbs and fixtures across campus, and they borrowed $10,000 and expected that they would save $5,000 a year, which means they'd get their money back in 2 years. Here's another one that was lighting retrofits in 10 parking structures. Here is one for ceiling insulation. They borrowed $12,000 from this fund and were estimating that they would save $3,000 a year, so in 4 years they would be paid back. Here is one where they they put vending misers in all campus vending machines. Okay, can you go back to 29, please? So, these funds can be relatively small in their total amount that they have in the account, and then the amount that is borrowed can be for small projects. But I want you to look at the right column, because that shows the return on investment, and they're getting returns on investment. The average, 47, 30, 29, 31%, 38%, and the average return, or the median return on investment was 32%. So, these funds are a way for people to obtain a small amount of money to address the upfront costs and achieve some really rapid savings that are not insignificant. So, anyway, this is a mechanism that I would like to see our county establish. And I've talked to Greg and David and Tim Barden, and we can set up a loan fund like this as a separate account from the general revenue, and we could set up, there's lots of examples of how you can decide on which projects and so forth. But where do we get the startup money? And my proposal is basically to set aside any savings that we have from energy conservation and put them into this fund.
How much money does it take, Ms. Arts, to set it up? How much money does it take?
Well, I told you, one school has as little as $5,000 in their fund.
So we put these bulbs in, they come and do this study, we do the bulbs, and we save $10,000 a year, then you're suggesting we put that 10 in this account?
That would be one option, yes. Yes.
This account is for somebody like, I didn't see a breakdown of how it was broke down, the organizational, but let's say it's property appraiser's office.
Right.
Come up with an idea, whatever, to replace, I don't know.
Well, it could be we're going to replace our air conditioning, and by replacing our air conditioning, we're going to save money. And over time, it'll pay itself back because we save this money.
Right. And
I guess I don't understand why we need, the pot of money, I guess, set aside, but is this to incentivize people to come up with ideas because they'll get some money at the end in their pocket?
That's the second part of my proposal, but you mentioned property appraisers, and we did an audit there, and it's not the property appraiser side, on the supervisor of elections side. We bought an Energy Star roof thinking that was going to help, but the problem is they have a drop ceiling and lots of fluorescent lights, and all their air conditioning and whatever goes right into the attic space. And that was originally a sealed space. They've actually been trying to vent it so it cools better. But they're losing tons of their air conditioning just going right out the roof. And so what Dan Ard suggested was filling in that whole space with foam. Just so there's no longer an air space, just making it a solid insulated foam space. But he doesn't have the money to do that. And he could put in if we could set aside a pot of money, that was just for these kind of
things. The other side of that is the purpose, if we set this, if the facilities person that we're wanting to hire organize it right, we currently maintain all these structures that you're talking about. So if we organize right, I want to make sure that we would be the ones, our department would be the one doing the actual work itself. And so we would be paying for that work. So, because what I want to get to is consistency. One of the problems we got 400 different air conditioners out there. We need to have 1 or 2 air conditioners that we use and have that. That's the whole purpose, is to have that some consistency. So I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, it all boils that back down to us, because we're the ones holding the purse string as it pertains to maintaining all the properties.
Mr. David.
Yes, sir.
Basically, I yield to your expertise on what we're talking about.
Well, and what she's telling is great. The problem is we end up paying for all this anyway. And I would like to see a fund set up. I'd like to see a fund set up that like this, but instead of the property appraiser having to worry about it, that's something we can say, okay, this year we want to go to the property appraiser's office and we've got this problem and we've saved this amount of money and it's in this fund and we want to use that fund for capital upgrade. I don't have a problem. That's good, but there's no sense in Buddy applying for that because at the end of the day it hits our budget, so we do it anyway, and that's
Maybe we could set up a fund that's designated to be used for future upgrades.
And that would be fine. I just want to, as we are saving money, I think it's important to capture those savings. Otherwise, we never have the money to do some of the bigger ticket items that we might want to do, or, so, and this, as we're saving money, let's set it aside specifically for upfront costs for energy saving projects.
My direction is and will be is to let David as soon as possible evaluate the 3 top money positions where we can save money and go ahead and set up a loan account or whatever so we can start making money by borrowing money. I don't want to be talking about this issue a year from now when I'd like to have somebody bring a proposal back that we're going to borrow $100,000 or basically say that we got $100,000 worth of air conditioners or whatever that need to be replaced that will make us a 30% return on our dollars. And then basically let's get on with it.
Well, I agree, Jerry, but I think what Lynn's saying is if we get that 30% return, she wants to put that into an account so that it rolls over and we do another.
That's not a problem.
That
But
makes
the
all
thing
sense
about it
to
is
us.
let's just
That's
get on
perfect.
with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and now, Katie, if you would look at the one that says electricity, the other part of what I was proposing, and that I had talked with, what I had talked with David and Greg about was, all right, here's 2 departments, and these are based on calendar years, not fiscal years. And these are 2 departments or offices, whatever, who are trying hard to reduce their energy expenditures, and you can see they've been having success. On the left is IFAS, and this is their total, this isn't even expenditure, this is their kilowatt hour usage. On the left is their total in 2010, and then their total in 2011. And they've reduced it pretty substantially. And so there are ways through whether it's on an accounting basis or a loan basis to try and direct that toward a fund that would help with the upfront costs. And the one on the pair on the right is animal control, and that actually includes chat. And anyway, they've also had a pretty significant reduction. And so again, through accounting mechanisms, you could set aside the savings that those departments accrued toward this fund. But I was proposing doing one thing more, and that was actually creating a little bit of an incentive for employees. And it was suggested that I take a 2-year average. So that's what the purple bar is. And what the deal would be for IFAS, for example, was using their 2-year average. If they could reduce it this coming year by 10%, the value of that 5% reduction would go to IFAS. And they could use it for something that they wanted unrelated to energy. They could use it for a party, whatever. And the other 5%, the value of the 5% would go to this account. So that's enough. I'm just kind of throwing out some variations on how.
I keep getting confused. It's pretty much as simple as you borrow $100,000. It's going to give you a 30% return. You pay the money back.
And put what you saved into
a kitty fund if you need to. But
and Jerry, let's be clear.
you borrow 100,000 and it's going to give you a decrease in what you're spending at 30% hypothetically, if it just to make sure, there's always a risk. That's all I'm saying. It could all go horribly awry.
There's hardly a risk in a 10-seer air conditioner going to
Well,
an 8.
the hope would be it's somewhat like a CRA would be is your initial funding may come from a loan or a loan from another fund, but hopefully over time with the savings that you're going to get if you dedicate those funds to that, all of a sudden it becomes funding itself. So it lessens the risk.
Okay, well, so it sounds like there's a lot of support for setting up a special fund that would be used to offset the upfront costs of energy efficiency improvements.
I'll have to talk to Greg about the timing of that. I don't know if we can do that this year or whether that's going to be a next year ordeal, so I don't know about those things.
Now, in terms of my proposal to try and get employees to have some, like a department could give everybody a share, all the employees a share of that 5% if they all work together, but that's kind of like one step beyond what the main thing is that I'm proposing. Let's work on the first one first.
That's right. Then we'll worry about that.
Okay, so then my motion is that we'll forget about is to direct staff to establish a energy conservation account or energy efficiency account. Does that work?
Okay.
Everyone's got it.
I would like to.
Or do you want loan fund in there or not? Just account?
I don't think loan fund.
That's up to Greg.
Okay.
Brandy.
To establish an energy efficiency account from energy savings accrued to help fund future energy improvement or energy efficiency improvements.
How about if we change that a little bit and ask David?
Got a loan.
Yeah, take out a loan.
Let us evaluate that, Jerry. I think if we set this up, we'll come back and evaluate and come back with a performance.
Well, I would just say, and we don't want to. Your staff is pretty lean and mean right now.
Yeah.
You've got lots of time on your own, so
Yeah.
I'd like to change that and direct David to, at his leisure, to work with staff to affect this.
That's a great word.
At his leisure to work with staff to affect this. Because staff is covered up. And David's got lots of time.
Well, I think we can set the fund up easily, and the biggest thing is going to be is doing an evaluation of all of our assets. And that's going to be the first thing, and to describe what needs to be done. You know what I mean? And what's the top priority, and then start pecking it off, and that's going to be the most work.
Okay.
It would seem to me, David, that you would say, well, air conditioning is a priority. That's a big energy. And then...
But those are expensive, too.
Well, there's where you...
Well, there may be some low-hanging fruit, but anyway, that's the reason I want to get a good person in there.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, and I just wanted to have Katie show one more thing, the other community matrix. I just wanted to show y'all what we put together, because there was no listing of this. But what we've tried to do is create a master list for all the county offices and everything. Scroll to the right, just scroll to the right. So go to the very top, so there you go, so they can see. All right, start on the left and just kind of scroll. All right, so it shows the organizational unit, which the very top one is sheriff's office. Then it has the different buildings that they have. All right, then scroll left and the parcel numbers. Scroll right or whatever. It has parcel numbers. It's got whoever the manager is, whoever the electricity provider, the meter number, the account number. Keep going. And then this was set up so we could help. That it would be basically the beginning of a database, so you could track forward over time and do some analyses on which facilities are the most inefficient. And then we have water and sewer and so forth too,
I
but
would,
that's enough. That will give that to the facility manager, because like David said, when he came on board, there was nobody, nothing is ever pulled together. And that's what we've tried to do.
With all due respect, Ms. Art, did staff do that?
No, I didn't.
You're such a good person.
The Energy Committee worked on it.
Policy.
When you're no longer
Energy.
commissioner, would you do my agenda items?
No, no. This was part of the Energy Committee, and but I'm the one who actually did the
I can tell.
spreadsheet.
It's very good.
Well, thank you.
All right,
Okay.
so
So we've got a motion.
what was the motion? Could you restate it one more time, or restate the motion?
I think
Evelyn?
Evelyn's got it.
Commissioner Ernst moved to direct staff to establish an energy efficiency account from energy savings approved all funds.
Energy efficiency improvements.
But I put something in there too.
Yours is a second motion. Oh,
Commissioner Moore seconded?
no.
Commissioner Moore, did you second?
No, he wanted to add, like David, to do it at his leisure.
I'll second. Commissioner Stewart seconded. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 4-1.
You just want to take
I
over
want
Laurel.
David to do it.
Okay, excellent. We are getting silly. That is a good thing to be on the end of a county commission meeting. County attorney, is your
Go ahead. Excuse me.
the county administrator?
Yes.
You have an item down here, discussion of grant application process.
I have a couple other things before that. Just to let the public know, we've started Phase 4 of the Oklahoma Bike Trail. You can go down there, actually started pushing. And they're putting up silt fence and culverts, etc.
Just no demand.
Also, just got an email, which is great for you guys, commissioners. Y'all have done a great job on this.
Any more commission meetings?
Believe it or not, we just got this, our CMAP from HUD. We are now, for our Section 8 housing, after years and years of being on the troubled list, we are no longer on the troubled list. Congratulations.
After 8 years.
So that is awesome. That goes from a score of 30/135 to 100/135. So that's both thanking Ezron and Meridian, as well as our staff, Alyssa, and Louie, and Summer, and Heather, for all the folks that have worked on it. That is great news. So within
go
a
ahead
year,
and
we've got it turned around.
Speak for the citizens out there, it's about time.
There you go. Okay. Also today is October 1st. It started our new year, and Miss Brandy back here, she is now in our office, and she is the finance arm of the clerk of court. She'll be reporting to Greg, but she's going to be in our office where Will was, and we're starting. We've got to start out, and we're going to be retrofitting how we're doing stuff, and that started today. So I welcome Brandy to our offices. Thank you, Brandy. She's I tell you what, you got to be careful when you go in her office, because she's a sergeant, I think, in her second life, so she'll.
So we can't tell her what.
Oh, you won't tell her what to do. No, Greg taught her right. But the agenda item was grant application renewal. Since I took the job, the first thing was to get the structure of the government kind of the way it needed to be, as far as how many folks it was going to need to do the job, etc., and get the blocks put where all the blocks needed to, get the financing shored up, get all of that shored up. Now comes the second phase, which is the efficiency side of that. We've already worked on some efficiency items, but this is one that deals with the board, and I've actually got 2 items on here versus the 3. One is during the grant application process. Currently, we bring to the board when we have a grant opportunity, we have to come to the board to request to advertise or request to apply for the grant. We want to eliminate that process, because as a manager, that's part of management. If once we got projects and we get a grant there, that all of a sudden a grant comes in and we find the grant, and we say, okay, we've got 30 days to put this together. Then that's when Cherie and her assistant will come to me and say, hey, this is a grant that might fit this situation. It's my job to sit there and evaluate it and say, okay, yeah, let's go to the next step, or no, let's not go to the next step. All right, because at that point in time, I'm making a determination, is it worth it to move forward? Then, then once we move that process, I need to communicate to you guys that we're doing this, because a lot of these grants, you don't know the matches until you actually get through the process. So therefore, what I want to do is eliminate that. I'm going to eliminate that process of coming to you guys for the initial approval. It will still come back to you for final approval, for final sign-off and acceptance of by the board. Also, on the RFQ and the ITBs and RFPs, once you have approved a project for us to move forward, we're going to that project will move forward, and the only thing that you'll see currently now, we come back to you guys to request to advertise for an ITB, an RFP, and RFQ. We're not going to do that. We're going to come back to you once we approve a project. We're going to come back to you with a contract. Here it is. Here's for this discipline. Here's for this. That eliminates a lot of steps in the project. Both of those eliminate tons of time on staff time creating agenda items, etc., clogging up agendas, and it doesn't need to be. So I want to let you know that's what we're going to be in the process of doing. There'll be a few things. I talked to Louis about the text amendments to comp plans and LDCs. He's going to use his judgment on that, what he brings to the board and whatever, but he's got his own criteria. Just about everything will still come back to you guys. There are a few things minor that will not. So that's those items that I wanted to talk about, and the next item would be our...
Commissioner Arts has a comment.
Yeah.
I have a question. Okay, which grants are you talking about now?
This would be grants that we would apply for as staff for the county, or based on county projects that we see that apply for county projects.
Okay, so that, like, we sometimes see grants from the sheriff's office, we know more that
that's not us, that's right. That's not, that part of it, yes, they'll still work with me on that, okay. and then you'll still come back for final approval for that.
Ms. Arts could still do a wildflower grant, though, for example, by coming to you.
That's right.
The board approves the grant, it goes forward. You don't come back again to request to advertise or whatever.
Well, and it's going to be a little different. Like if Ms. Arts does comes to the board and says, comes to me and says, I want to apply for this grant. I'm going to look at the match, and in that case, I may, since it's commissioner, come back and say, hey, Ms. Arts requests that we apply for this. Here's where the grant is. I feel like either one is I'll either move forward with it, or I'll say, well, hold on, I think I need board approval for this for whatever extenuating circumstance. That's the way I'd like to work.
And that was one of my concerns, although I'm not going to be here still writing grants. But I was, like TDC, that they just.
They will still need to bring those through us. That they will still need to. I want them to come through the process of doing that for right now.
Okay, I'm just trying to think who.
I'll work that out. I haven't. I was just mainly worried about trying to get our within the BoCC taken care of.
Well, and the TDC currently follows a basic method like that. The way it's currently working is they apply for grants, and then once it gets ready to approve, they bring it back for approval. Currently.
Right, and at some point, Florida Foresight, maybe come with for the Maritime Museum, and I know we always get EMS and fire and stuff, and
all those will be vetted. Fire will be vetted through us.
But some of the others, like TDC and Florida Foresight and whatever.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to bog them down. So, other than that, our new county logo is up on the board. Commissioner Merritt, he's given his seal of approval.
Not really.
Did you bring the other ones?
Kelsey?
I don't have any.
You don't have the older ones? Okay, we'll get those to you, though.
I'd like to see the other ones.
Okay.
And I drew that.
So anyway, that's all I've got, Commissioner. Chairman.
It's an
Okay.
invasive species palm. Anyway, go ahead.
What is the palm? The palm?
It's a sago.
Cabbage palm.
Okay. My next.
Commissioner Stewart, we're going to move on. Sorry, I apologize. Discussion items by Commissioners. Commissioner Stewart.
FEMA. I'm frustrated still. Did we send the letter?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't get a copy of it.
Yes. I'm sorry.
I'd like to get a copy of it.
I thought we copied all of you guys. Okay. I'm sorry.
I haven't
We'll
seen
get
it. what went out. But anyway, I don't know that we've done enough. I guess I'm frustrated that a citizen brings this to us and we don't, I mean, how come we don't know this? Should...
I sent you
this stuff here?
process that
All of this right here?
outline. I didn't give you copies of the rules. I summarized them for you.
Yeah, Heather had a really nice...
You talked about this?
The notification. I mean, I haven't gone through, and you guys haven't given any direction for staff or your county attorney to invest time in.
Well, I did last
following
meeting.
up on FEMA.
Well,
But I
okay.
gave you a summary of the process.
Okay, I want the board to, we need to do more than just talk about it. I suggested at the last meeting that we do whatever it took, I asked the question, could we take any legal recourse to address this? I guess that was...
Well, the first step, Mike, was, Commissioner Stewart, was to get the letter for that was the very first step, and we got that right out to request for an extension. But that's what, by the time the letter got there, it was already done. So yes, we've got that part now. That's what we've got to do. Is I got some good ideas tonight, and we just got to go back through the process and see what we got. We're going to be meeting with the URS, the consultant Louis lining that meeting up to discuss St. Mark's area and some other transect lines that Commissioner Merritt had asked for as well. So yes, we haven't been sitting on our lawn. We're working, and we're going through URS. We got to find out the base information first on what they use.
I'm not suggesting that anybody sit on their laurels. I'm saying I don't understand, and I read what Heather sent, but I didn't understand that along this process that they were supposed to be, or they were supposed to have met with us through this process. They've met with us one time. If that, I want to see what they have. I'm like Chris Russell said, where's the proof that you met and did these things that you shall do and so forth. And that's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
Procedural stuff.
Procedural stuff.
All right, I want a motion to have the county attorney come up with a plan for how we can help.
Well, if there's something we...
I think that's a appropriate motion.
I think we need to talk to URS first once we get through our meeting so we can understand.
Who are they?
That's the consulting company that did all this.
They work for Water Management District, who
works for FEMA. That's right.
But the clock is ticking.
I would support a motion if you decided to move forward directing the county attorney to come up with a plan of how to, or whoever you want to direct to come up with a plan.
Why don't you just ask Heather to look at the procedural portions of this rule? Would that be relatively easy, wouldn't it, just to make sure they followed all that?
I want to see proof that they did.
I don't have any of the information. I would have to try and get that from the federal government.
We talked about it last meeting. You suggested that we don't spend any money to do this. I think it's time that we got to seriously consider either spending some money or do nothing, and I'm not going to do anything because this impacts too many citizens in Wakulla County. And I think we have a responsibility as a board to do something. If we just throw our hands up and say it's the federal government, we can't do anything, then we haven't done our due diligence. And we owe it to the county, to the citizens of this county, to do everything we can in our power, whether that takes a little bit of money or some money to do, then I think we got to do it.
I think everybody agrees. I don't want to be singled out as being anti-this. My point was, I don't want the county to go hire a PhD to do a new computer model.
I didn't say that.
Looking at procedural, make them, if we could beat them on a technicality, great.
Well, that's what I asked. That's what I asked at the last meeting. To find if if they have missed something somewhere, then let's find that loophole and let's hold them responsible.
Can you look at that?
I can look at that, and I can make a FOIA request. We have to pay up front for it, just so you know. And the last FOIA request I made from the federal government took them 65 days to respond. But, I can certainly make a FOIA request. That's the only way we can sort of cross-check.
How much it cost?
Well, that time it was $100 and some, but
I make a motion
small
that we
amount of material.
We do that.
I second the motion.
How much does that cost?
100 and something.
Well, no, that depends on the amount of material. You have to pay the federal government up front.
Yeah.
Well, it would simply be minutes from a meeting, is all
Well,
it would be, so.
we probably need to do that, just make sure.
I want them to prove to us that they've done these steps that they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking, and if they haven't, then they haven't complied with their own rule, and then they gotta start over. I guarantee you that's what they would do to us if we didn't follow the rules.
Oh, yeah, we've missed a deadline before on a public hearing and lost it.
I think Chris Russell wanted to make a comment. Did you want to have him come up?
Yeah, Chris.
That'd be great.
All right.
Ask you to stay all this time, please do.
All right, so just a couple of things there. I think you hit the nail on the head, Randy. We are looking for a technicality right now. Being the federal government, and these are shalls, I just imagine there's not a shall. So the FOIA request, it may take a while. Personal recommendations, I would have the chairman, draft a letter asking for the case file, all the stuff in it. If you get resistance, or at the same time, parallel proceedings, go ahead and do a FOIA request as well. That shows that we're seeking this, get more information on it. Unfortunately, what was sent out the other day was not this. It was the next section. It was 66.7, if I'm not mistaken, which was the appeals process. What we have here tonight, what I brought up here tonight, there's two different things. 66.1 and 2, that's what I see as the beginning process, and that's where I think that we might find the angle to actually have this thing stop, or at least, give us the time to research it. I agree we need to be working with the IRS to look at transects, but I don't think the transects are where you're going to find the problem. I think you're going to find the computer modeling will be the problem. That's just my personal opinion. But they should be able to show us, because correct me if I'm wrong, Louis and I were talking about this earlier today, we don't really have any records on this that we can show them. So we're going to have to rely on their records. But they should have records saying they met with these people from the county, this is what was discussed. They have 6 things in here they have to go through. If any of those 6 things change, then they shall, in writing, let us know. So if the case file does not show this stuff where they shall as we go all the way through, then it's a no-brainer. They did not meet the CFR here, the Code of Federal Regulations outlining what's happened. FEMA has had issues in the past where they've not been stewards or partners with the communities, and so Congress came out and they said, let's go this route, and this is what we have. That's the first part of it. Now, the second part is the 66.5. That's the consultation that we're doing afterwards. It also discusses the initial meeting as well. They're supposed to let us know as well all the way through. Basically, what FEMA has said in their study that they did with us, what they presented us is they met with us, I think it was January 12, 2007, don't quote me on the exact date, for a scoping meeting, for lack of better words. And from what I understand from all your staff members, that's the last time we talked to FEMA other than them setting up the meeting in June that had to be postponed by Debbie. Well, if you go back and look at this, there's a lot of shalls in there. And if they didn't meet those shalls in that time frame, I think that we have, Heather, obviously, you tell us, but I think we have grounds to say, sorry, you didn't meet what your requirements say, so take this back, try again. That's where I'm coming from tonight, is that the appeal clock is already ticking if it's been published, not only in the Federal Register, but if it's been published in a local newspaper, the 90-day appeal process going. So I would recommend tonight that what you might want to do is the chairman draft a letter. With all due respect, 4 days for a letter's a long time. If you want, I'll draft it for your chairman, and we'll get it out tomorrow. If we got that letter out last time on that Tuesday overnight, we would have had it before it went in the Federal Register, but that's neither here nor there. That point's already gone. But send up a letter requesting the case file, the full docket, copies of it. If they want to charge us for making copies, so be it. And I would parallel that with a formal letter from your attorney asking for a FOIA on that as well. And then let's look and see what we can do. At the same time, you're working with the IRS to see if there's some issues you can work on. That's my thoughts.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Stewart?
That's all I got.
Did we vote on that?
So, The current motion is just to, what's the current motion?
Current motion is
We've
for
talked
the
about-
county attorney to do a FOIA request. That FEMA prove that they have complied with their own rules.
You want to add an addition to that, a letter, a request, Commissioner Stewart,
For the case study.
the case study from the chair?
Case file.
File from the chair.
Yes.
You can draft.
I think I seconded, so I'll go.
I
Okay.
have a motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Moore.
Oh,
Consider the amendment friendly?
yes.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I will also probably be reaching out to, we'll be working with FAC on this, because I do think that's an important aspect of it also, as y'all brought up earlier. Any additional items tonight, Commissioner Stewart? Commissioner Merritt, I heard you said you,
Very
no?
briefly, septic tank policy went into effect today, and I talked to Tracy at the Building Department. She said they had a ton of calls from people, so
Good.
there's been a lot of people waiting to be able to fix their system or do whatever. It was mentioned earlier, we don't have a policy on citizens to be heard. Is that correct, Heather? That it has to be,
There is some information in your meeting policy that talks about all citizens' comments, not just limited to citizens to be
but
heard.
does it say that it has to be citizen comments on citizens to be heard have to be directed about board business only?
I can read it to you. It's peppered throughout, but I can read you the most relevant portions.
Well, if it doesn't, I suggest we form a policy, since that's our job, is to make policy. Why don't we just make a policy that citizens will be heard, or they speak?
What it says is that you can't make irrelevant, impertinent, slanderous remarks, you can't become boisterous. Any person who becomes disorderly or who fails to confine remarks to the identified subject or the business at hand.
Well,
So
under,
we're talking about
I would certainly agree with that if there was discussion items on a issue that had a motion and a second, but that really doesn't apply to citizens to be heard, because
This
there is no...
applies to everything.
What I'm saying is there is no issue at hand if it's citizens to be heard. You can talk about whatever you want. You just can't be boisterous.
No, I think the
Or
issue at
slanderous.
hand is county business, but if you guys want to be more specific than
I'd
that, you
like to
can
be more
certainly amend the
As it
policy.
pertains to an agenda item.
Well, citizens, it doesn't have to pertain to an agenda item for citizens to be heard, it has to pertain to county business.
But if you want to make that specific, you can we can amend the meeting policy and... bring it
Anyway,
back to
that's what I would suggest, is that we do limit it to county business. Anyway, that's what I would suggest. I don't know how y'all...
I agree. I think it's always need to be like that.
I mean, if I got tepid support, I'll bring it back as an agenda item. Gary? Tepid
You have my
support.
support?
I don't want to shut anybody's right down to talk, but also, we don't want to get up here, we had a couple presentations that were kind of out there, had absolutely nothing to do with anything. It'd be like somebody getting up and talking and complaining about their
Okay, but
income tax.
All right, Chuck Robinson got up and made an announcement about the Chamber Forum. That doesn't have anything to do with county business. He missed that it might have been better under awards and presentations, but I don't...
And we've often had citizens make announcements about upcoming events during citizens to be heard.
Give me a chance to try to draft something then that I think. You all know,
I know we're trying to avoid.
This happens every election season. Every election season.
even if it was an election, I hate,
And
it's embarrassing to me for citizens to see us have to sit there and listen to some comments, no matter what commissioner is, if you like them, if you don't. I think it degrades the office of the board, which is, we are the citizens of Wakulla County.
I don't think it should go on. I could set up, any one of us could set up here right now and just commissioner discussion items, and I could start talking about my political views, but I'm not going to do that, because I know that's not the way business should be done. It's unprofessional. I'm not going to do it. I wouldn't expect any other commissioner to do that, and I wouldn't think the citizens would, but some do, and that's, somehow I agree with you. I think we need to have a policy. I'm not sure how you write it.
Let me see what I can come up with. I have some contacts in the citizens to be heard community, if you will. I'll run it by
I would suggest you go to the school board, and if we can make it like the school board does it, it would work outstanding.
All right, so I'll try to come back with something. They said that the school got those solar panels because they were shelters or something. Just Just
Right,
a
there was a
thought,
grant.
why couldn't we do that for an emergency management? I'm sure there's no grant that's just pie in the sky out there, but, you know, if we can get solar panels at the emergency management office, you know, anyway, just keep it in your mind. I didn't want to say anything then and cloud the issue. We really need to be thinking about prioritizing what these, I think we all agree the wastewater plant's number one. I think we should try to come up with some lower dollar projects, say, we don't have $1 million, Wakulla County, we can give you $300,000, give us some priority lists that don't cost as much money. I just think that'd be a good idea.
Also, what we'll do is we've got a roll-up sheet of all of these projects that we'll send you so that you don't have to thumb through this big book. So you can look and, you know, it'll give you just the title of it so that then you can go back to the book and pull it up and look at it if you want to. That way, so it'll make it a little easier. So we'll get that out to you guys in email tomorrow.
Okay, and my last item is just to talk about is, and this kind of goes along, not goes along with this, in the same vein as non-interference policies, the officers. Every time I've been around, every time somebody gets elected, they inherit somebody else's office or such and such moves around. In my opinion, the chairman who represents us really should have the nicest office, if you will, because he's going to be meeting.
You can't have my office.
Well, I don't think you have the nicest office. I'm not trying to boot you out of yours, but there's been situations in the past where somebody didn't like somebody else having a bigger office, so they made theirs bigger, and blah, blah, blah.
And I think that as elections happen, there's opportunities to switch offices around. Like, I could have moved to the office Jerry's is in now, which is the bigger office currently, and decided to stay in my office.
That's great. That's perfect. And if that's the way...
It's always worked itself out, Randy.
Randy's going to be chairman next time, so he's positioning himself for a new office, a big office.
I've never complained about what office I had, nor would I. I've worked in the little closet where you had to get up and out of your seat to close the door, and I've worked in the office I'm in now. So
Well,
if you want my office, I'll move.
No.
I'll change with you.
let's look 5 years from now. And I'm no longer in office. Me as a citizen, I would want the chamber, the chairman who's representing us, to have a decent place to meet in. I guess they could do it in the conference room, I guess. But
That's what I normally do.
anyway.
I normally, because for people who've not been to our offices,
To throttle back county commissioners, I'm gonna try to do
there's a lot of, our offices, there's a lot of discrepancy between our offices. One of us has a corner office with windows.
I don't know who that is.
The rest of us don't have windows.
I have a bathroom.
Two of us have bathrooms.
I have the smallest
Mike has a
office.
bathroom.
Does he?
A closet, but
I never go in there. The sunshine.
Bathroom and closets and windows. But then other of us have small little cubes. It works out. It's not a big deal. I like to show people, I chose to keep mine because of the
That's true.
austerity that we have in
That's
Wakulla
true.
County.
That's true.
Don't need the lavish luxury that some of us show off with our offices. I have no comments tonight. Thank you.
I'd like to be last, please.
Mr. Arts, no comments?
None for tonight.
Commissioner Moore, you are last this evening.
Just to kick things around a little bit, the citizens would probably like to be introduced to our staff. We have the best staff in the state, and I would like for the staff to come up and just look at the television and say who they are and what they do. Yes, that's what I would like.
Gary, this falls under the harassment.
I think
And would you introduce all of our employees when we hire them?
it's kind of close to taking pictures, Jerry.
I would like to withdraw that, please.
Was that your last item?
That's my last
I entertain a
item.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
And a second, any further, all in favor? Thank you all, everybody, have a lovely night.
At least it got you awake.
Randy, you got most everything you want.